Thank you. Thank you. But I don't know what has happened. I'm not in a position to. Let me check. Okay. Actually, I have started sharing. Hello, dear participant. Just give me a minute. Okay. I'm really sorry for the. But there is something wrong on my PC. Okay. It is getting restarted. Okay. So give me a second, please. Okay. Within 1 minute, I'll join. Yeah. I hope we are connected. Okay. And I'm loud and clear. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. There was some technical glitch. All of a sudden, my PC has restarted rather. Okay. So, dear participant, I hope I am loud and clear. You can very well hear me. Okay. As Mr. Ankit has rightly pointed out, in this particular session, we will have detailed discussion on various aspects of, you can say, how we can integrate uh, ICT in general and AI in particular for teaching, learning, and research. Okay, wherein we will also explore various aspects of this particular technology, that is how this technology has evolved, and what are the gray areas, okay, what are the various concerns, okay, all those aspects will have detailed discussion, and I would definitely love to interact with you on those lines. Okay, so just allow me to share my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Okay, so just give me a second. So this is what is there on the agenda as far as this session is concerned. So in the first part of the session, we will just try to build some theoretical foundation of what is AI and how this technology has evolved, and how to deal with this disruption which is coming all its way to all of us, right? So in the first part, as I said, that is, we'll just try to build some theoretical foundation. I hope my slides are visible to you. Somebody has to confirm whether my
Yes,
slides are.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. And as I said, that is in the first part of the session, we'll just try to build some theoretical foundation. And the second part, we will have some hands-on on few of these tools. Okay. So before directly jumping into what they call it as what is AI and all, okay, we need to understand what are the various attributes, okay, which makes us intelligence, right? So what are the various attributes? Here, I would love to interact with you, okay? So what do you feel? What are the various attributes, okay, which makes we as a human being as intelligent? Okay. So any one of you would like to come on those lines? Okay. What are the various attributes or the you can say the characteristics which makes us intelligent? So we as a human being we enjoy certain uh, attributes. Okay. And the basic idea behind posing this question is not to check your knowledge or evaluate you in some aspect. The idea is to simply involve you in the discussion. Okay. As you know, this NEP 2020 is all about, you can say, orientation and sensitization. Okay. So this is once again integral part of NEP 2020. Okay. So wherein we are discussing that is how to integrate ICT in general and AI in particular into our teaching and research. So my question was pretty straightforward. That is, what are the various attributes which makes us intelligent? Anyone would like to comment on this? Dear participant, I hope all of you are
Human
getting
can think or make
great.
some creativity.
Okay, great, great. Uh, Priyesh Kumar ji, you have rightly pointed out that is thinking capability and creating. Okay,
Ji.
creativity, something like that. Yeah. Apart from that, anybody else would like to contribute? Okay. Anyway, so as Professor Priyesh Kumar has rightly pointed out, that is, we as a human being, we enjoy certain special attributes, okay, which makes us intelligent. So, what are all those attributes? Those attributes are nothing but the ability to learn, okay, that is, as he has rightly said, that is the thinking capability. Okay, you may come up with certain corollaries on those regards. Okay, so learning makes us, you can say, a little bit different. Okay, we are all lifelong learner. Okay, so learning is one of the most important attribute. Then some of you may come up, that is, whenever we take some or the other decision, okay, so we can very well justify that how we arrived at that particular decision. So reasoning capabilities, right? Reasoning is the another important attribute, or some of you may come up with what they call it as the comprehension capabilities, and so on and so forth. Okay, then thinking, analyzing, and so on and so forth, right? So the God Almighty has given us a lot of attributes in that regard, and that's why we are considered as one of the most important living species on the earth, right? And last but not the least is once you have been trained in a particular domain, okay, you are capable of navigating novel or challenging situation. Okay, so let's say some training has been imparted to you on some aspect, okay, so you can very well apply that knowledge into altogether new situation, right? So that is the most important aspect of human intelligence. Now what is AI? Let's say if you start thinking on these lines, okay, so one can define artificial intelligence as you can say the uh, study of mechanism that think and act like human. So thinking, as professor has pointed out, okay, thinking capabilities or analyzing capability is one of the most peculiar characteristics of human intelligence. And once you think or analyze, okay, you take some or the other decision. So acting upon that stuff, okay, whatever you have thought or analyzed, okay, or taking some or the other decision is the another important aspect of artificial intelligence. So if by some means we are in a position to incorporate these things into a machine, or to be very precise, into a computer program, we may call that particular program or that particular machine as an AI enabled machine. Okay. Or to put it in some straightforward word, it is simply any technique that enables computer to mimic human behavior. So the moment I say mimic human behavior, meaning thereby I'm referring to all those attributes which we have talked about with regard to human intelligence, right? So mimicking human behavior, meaning thereby carrying out all those things in some way or the other, okay, that is what is AI is all about, right? So having said this, what has happened, that is, if you look at the history of this AI, okay, most of us we feel that this technology is altogether new, but if you look at the historical perspective of this technology, okay, this term, that is AI, it was tossed way back in 1956. It was tossed for the very first time way back in 1956, and the fellow who has come up with this fantastic idea was John McCarthy. So he proposed this idea in 1956, and the event was the AI workshop, which took place in Dartmouth, United Kingdom. Okay, where this fellow, along with few of his colleagues, they came up with this idea of AI and all. So it has started in 1956, and right now we are in 2026. So roughly 70 years have passed. So what I'm trying to emphasize is this is not at all new. The only thing what has happened, that is during past one decade, you may say, particularly last 5 or 10 years, okay, we are witnessing a lot of application built on this technology, and that's why we are all feeling the heat. Okay, so it is touching almost everybody's life irrespective of your profession. So education and research is again no exception in those lines, right? So having said this, AI is not at all new. Okay, it is quite old. Okay, and the roots of this technology are quite deep. Okay, but one thing again we need to understand. If you look at past 3.5 years, again, if you look at the, you can see the speed with which this technology is growing. Okay, it is tremendous. Okay, and this slide will give you an idea about that. Okay, you can very well recall that ChatGPT was probably introduced, rather released in 2023. That is December 2023. So what has happened? The idea was to barely come up with something like you can say large language model. So those LLMs were capable of you can say acting as a question answering machine. That is, you ask any query and they will respond to your queries. So a QA sort of a thing. Okay, December 2023 to mid 2024. Then gradually we moved into probably December 2024 to mid 2025. People started talking about what they call it as context engineering. So prompt engineering was asking anything, okay, in the form of in some natural language, okay, to any large language model, and those large language model like say ChatGPT or DeepSeek, they were capable of responding to those queries, okay, in textual form, right? That is what they call it as prompt engineering. Definitely, we'll have some detailed discussion on prompt engineering, various aspects of prompt engineering in these slides to come. But the second era was, that is immediately after 6 to 8 months, people started talking about context engineering. So what is context engineering? Basically, context engineering basically deals with what they call it as workflow automation. That is, you can carry out any sort of workflow automation, or you can create AI agents, okay, using AI tools, okay, and that has started from December 2024 to mid 2025. But if you look at past 6 years or sorry 6 months or so, okay, people are talking about what they call it as harness engineering. Okay, so what is harness engineering? That is, you can build application like you can say YouTube or any professional application for that purpose. Okay, using this harness engineering concept. Now, AI has made it possible to build that sort of a now. That is definitely, again, it's not a matter of 1 hour or one day. Okay, it may take 6 months or so, or maybe a year. Okay, that process may be a little bit longer, but that has already been started. Okay, people started talking about harness engineering. So you can very well understand that is how this technology is growing, right? And what kind of a speed with which it is growing. Okay, so definitely it is quite high, and irrespective of your profession, as I said repeatedly, that is irrespective of your profession, this technology is touching almost everybody's life. So whether you are a lawyer or a chartered accountant, or you are a professor or teacher, or you are a researcher, okay, you need to adapt to this technology. That is what I intend to specify here, right? So having said this, what are the various phases in which this technology has evolved? Okay, so this slide will give you an insight on those lines. Okay, so the early AI systems were referred to as what they call it as the traditional AI systems. Okay, then we moved into an era of what they call it as machine learning, deep learning, and right now we are witnessing something wherein the market is um, there are hundreds of tools available, what they call it as the generative AI tool or Gen AI tools and so on. So we'll just try to understand how these things have evolved, right? Starting from traditional AI. So what was the, you can say the approach for, you can say building AI systems using traditional AI or classical AI? It was pretty simple. That is, the idea was simply give computers the ability to do tasks that traditionally only humans have been able to. Okay. So let's say I am an expert in some XYZ domain. So I carry out all those tasks in my daily routine, day to day life. So what people used to do, people used to contact the human expert working at that domain. Okay. Asking them n number of questions. That is, how do they perform a particular activity or task? Okay. Let's say I'm a medical practitioner. Then in what way I used to diagnose the disease the patient is suffering from? Okay, so based on the responses, what you can do, you can codify those things in the form of if then else rules. So designing simple if then else rules, okay, and building knowledge bases. Okay, that was the idea. And these systems were also referred to as what they call it as the expert systems. Okay, expert systems. So the idea was to explicitly program those, you can say, procedures or methodology in the form of if then else rule by using some or the other high level language like say Prolog or Lisp. Okay, so there were specialized AI, you can say capable or compatible languages. Okay, those were basically used for building those kind of systems. Okay, the typical example of this traditional AI, as you can see on this slide, is playing chess. Okay, so you must have heard about that is world chess champion playing against computers. So what was that computer? That computer was nothing but an expert system. Okay, wherein all the moves of the opponents were well defined. Okay, so let's say if I take one particular move, it will analyze all the possible moves and it will carry out some best possible move. Okay, so the idea was to automate that particular job, right? Then you may say consider another example as homeopathy expert. Okay, wherein the entire small repertory of homeopathy doctors is being codified in the form of if then else rules, and the systems were built like say mycin and so on. Okay, so mycin was the early AI system which was built for medical diagnosis and so on. Okay. And the simplest example is what you may consider is the washing machine, fully automatic washing machine. So in case of fully automatic machine, what is the strategy? Strategy is pretty simple. That is, you are dealing with 3 to 4 odd parameters. So what you can do, you can devise 27, 30 odd rules, and you may embed all those rules into a microcontroller. Okay, small chip, what they call it as a microcontroller chip. Okay, embed all those things into that microcontroller chip, put that microcontroller chip in the washing machine, okay, and let that microcontroller take control of all the components installed in a washing machine. Then it will behave as if some human expert is washing the clothes, okay, with his or her own hands, right? So the idea was to automate some small task, okay, but there were limited application of this technology, that is the traditional AI systems or the expert systems. So why? Because there were numerous reasons associated with. What are all those reasons? Okay, just try to have a look at those things. The very first reason was these systems were time intensive. So if you are dealing with a very simple problem like washing machine, right, wherein 27, 30 odd rules are enough. Okay, in that case, definitely it will carry out the activity within no time. But let's say if you are dealing with a very complex problem, like say medical diagnosis, wherein you have hundreds of disease and you can say thousands of symptoms. Okay, so definitely you need to devise rules which may be in you can say lakhs. Okay, and searching the desired rule or identifying a particular disease. Okay, it is definitely time consuming, because those days, the you can say, even the computing power of computers was tremendously low. I very well remember when I worked way back in 1997, 96, 97. Okay, with this artificial neural networks, the training time was in days, not in hours, or you can say. Uh, so we used to train machines for, you can say, 5 days, 3 days. Okay, you need to continuously keep that particular machine on. Okay, and let's say if the power goes off again, you need to restart the process from scratch once again. So why that scenario was there? Because the computing powers of computer was tremendously low. 80286386 machines were there, okay, with a very limited RAM and so on, right? In RAM used to be those days, I very well remember, in MBs. Okay, now you have gigabytes of primary memory. So so there were reasons. All those reasons are listed. Another reason was it doesn't generalize to new situation. Now, what do I mean by that? Doesn't generalize to new situation. Let's say you have built an expert system for medical diagnosis, and all of a sudden you are facing COVID-19 kind of a scenario. Now, if you keen all the symptoms of COVID-19, what will happen? Whether your system will be able to classify it as COVID-19? The answer is a big no. So, because all those symptoms were confusing, okay, it may lead to a number of probable disease, right? Okay, and that's why there was no, you can say, proper appropriate solution to treat patients suffering from COVID-19. So that system will come up with something like what they call it as no match found, or it will say, I am sorry, I am unable to diagnose. It is beyond the scope of my rule base, right? So that is what I am trying to emphasize with the help of it doesn't generalize to new situation. So if you give something altogether new, it will simply say, I am really sorry, I will not be able to proceed further. Okay. So that was the another issue associated with these expert systems. Then the third reason was based on the strategy. Okay, what was the approach for building these traditional AI systems? It was interaction with the human expert working in that domain, right? So that was the sole source of information. But we all, as a human being, we suffer from this, what they call it as the paradox, what they call it as the Balinese paradox. Okay, so we know more than we tell. Okay, so many times we are reluctant to disclose exactly how do we carry out a particular task, and that makes it big difficult to build systems using this traditional AI approach. Okay. Then the another issue was that is we cannot write down rules for all possible situations. Let's say if you are dealing with a very complex problem wherein you have got hundreds of parameters, so you will have you can say millions of permutation and combination. Okay, so it is simply impossible to write down rules for all those permutation and combination. Okay, that is what they call it as the combinatorial explosion. Okay, that was the another issue. However, these systems were well suited for, you can say, small or simple problems like washing machine, playing chess, or up to some extent, some medical diagnosis using some, you can say, the homeopathy kind of a approach, right? So there were reasons, and there were limited application. Like due to these many reasons, there were limited application of this technology in the early era. Okay, so traditional AI systems, even though they were in existence, but having very limited applicability. Okay, then what has happened? We moved into an era of what they call it as machine learning. Okay. Now let us try to understand what is machine learning. That is the second phase of evolution of AI systems. Okay. So what is machine learning? In machine learning, we follow a altogether different approach. Okay. As you can recall, that is in case of traditional AI systems, we used to explicitly program. Now here, in case of machine learning, we follow a complete paradigm shift. That is, now we are not explicitly programming the computer. Rather, what we are doing in case of machine learning, we are exposing the computer to hundreds of or thousands of input output data pair. Okay, what they call it as data set. Okay, what they call it as data set. Let's say if you wish to build a system for medical diagnosis. Okay, so what you will do, you will capture all the symptoms value, okay, in the form of, you can say, the parameters into some feature matrix. Okay, and you will feed all those feature values, okay, along with the name of the disease. Okay, let's say the whatever number of features you are extracting or you are collecting from the patient's data, okay, uh, you will capture their values, okay, that will be the input, and for those set of input, okay, you will specify the output. Okay, you will specify the output. So we have an input output data pair. And what do? We use some or the other statistical techniques. Okay, we deploy some or the other statistical techniques. And what is the idea behind deploying that statistical technique is to build or is to learn some kind of relationship between input and output. Okay, some kind of relationship between input and output. Okay, that is what we do in case of machine learning. So instead of explicitly writing down rules in the form of if then else by using some high level language, we follow a altogether different approach in case of a machine learning. And what is that approach? Use some statistical techniques. Now under statistical techniques we have very many possibilities. What are all those possibilities? Those possibilities are like, you may, those who are from mathematics or statistics, they must be well acquainted with these things, like say linear regression, okay, logistic regression, classification and regression, support vector machine, random forest, gradient descent, and so on and so forth. Okay, and last but not the least is the neural network. Okay, so these are the various, you can say, the statistical technique one can use for learning purpose, machine learning purpose. Okay, machine learning purpose. And what exactly we are doing in machine learning? We are trying to build or establish some kind of a relationship between the inputs and the outputs. Okay, in a very broader term, right? Now, having said this, we will definitely explore this neural networks, okay, in greater detail, okay, because these are the architectures which are, you may say, they are inspired from the structure of human brain. Okay, so if you look at the structure of human brain, okay, on the similar line, we have artificial neural networks. Okay, that we will discuss in greater detail. But as I have told you, that is, the idea was to deploy or use some or the other statistical techniques. And what for that statistical technique is being used? It is being used for establishing some kind of relationship between the input and the output. Right. Now, having said this, there are some prerequisites for machine learning. Okay, rather there's one important issue which is associated with machine learning. Rather, the only issue associated with machine learning was, that is, we have to have structured data. Okay, that was the only problem. Now, what do I mean by structured data? That is the data which can be numeralized. Okay, which can be numeralized. Say, for example, in case of, you can say, medical diagnosis, okay, if you are dealing with some patient's data, not all the values will be in numbers. Okay, there will be something in the form of running text, okay, describing some particular parameters. So what we need to do is we need to convert all those things into numbers, and to be very precise, numbers between 0 and 1. Now, how do we do that? Okay, we carry out this activity and we call that activity as pre-processing. Okay, so we convert at all that data into numbers. Okay, and once you get the numbers, okay, some of the numbers may be in 2-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit, and so on. Okay, what I said, that is, we have to have numbers, that two numbers between 0 and 1. So if it is a 2-digit number, divided by 10. Okay, if it is a 3-digit number, divided by 100. If it is a 4-digit number, divided by 1000, and so on and so forth. Okay, so as to get everything between 0 and 1. Now, once you have done this, okay, definitely this is a fair overhead. It will consume certain amount of time. Okay, it will require some time and energy. Okay, definitely you need to carry out, and this is what they call it as pre-processing. Now, once you are done with this, okay, you have some data set in your hand. Okay, now you are ready to feed it to the, you can say, some or the other statistical techniques, okay, or to some machine learning algorithm for learning purposes. Okay, so that is all about, you can say, machine learning. Okay, that was the only problem associated with machine learning. The rest all you can do quite easily. Anyway, so as I said, one of the most important statistical technique is the artificial neural networks. Okay, and if you recall, somewhere I have pointed out that these are the structures which are basically inspired from the structure of human brain. Okay, so this is the structure of a biological neuron. Okay, in our brain we have this way millions of neurons. Okay, and they are all fully connected. The structure is very complex. Okay, it is simply impossible to decode it. But in ANN, what we did, that is in neural network, we try to build similar structure. Okay, using some approach. Okay, so that is what exactly we are trying to understand. What that is, what is machine learning is all about. Okay, so this is the structure of a biological neuron. Now, what is there in a biological neuron? We have dendrites. Okay, through which we feed the input to the neurons. Okay, then it is whatever are the inputs. Okay, they are processed. Some sort of computation will be carried out. Okay, within the cell body, or you may say the cell nucleus. Okay, and then whatever is the output, it goes through this axon to the next neuron in the human brain. Okay, and all these neurons are fully connected with each other. Okay, all these neurons are fully connected with each other. Now, inspired by this structure, okay, we have we build a structure, what they call it as the artificial neural network. Okay, and what is that structure? Let us have a look at it. Now, this is the artificial neural network. Okay, ANN in short, it is referred to as. Now, in ANN, okay, these X1 and X2 are nothing but the input neuron. Okay, we are depicting that those neurons as X1 and X2. Okay, inputs. Okay, and Y is the output. Okay, Y is the output. And if you look at this particular diagram, you can very well see that with each neuron there is some weight associated with it, which is depicted by small w. Okay, so let's say if there are two input neurons, X1 and X2, we will have two weights, that is W1 and W2 respectively, associated with each of them. Right. Now, what are all these weights? These weights are nothing but the synaptic strength in case of a biological neuron. So it represents, now these weights are responsible for learning. Okay, whatever machine learning we are carrying out, as a matter of fact, we are trying to learn the value of these weights, to put it in simple words, right? Or if you recall, while describing machine learning, somewhere I said that is we use some or the other statistical techniques to learn the relationship between the input and the output. Now, what is input in this case? The inputs are X1 and X2. And what is the output? Output is Y. So we intend to derive, that is during learning, what exactly we are trying to do? We are trying to derive an equation like say Y equals to 0.32 into X1 plus 0.77 into X2. Okay. This is just for the sake of example, not necessarily all the time the weights value will be 0.32. Now, this 0.32 and 0.77 are nothing but the values of these weights. So Y is equal to summation of X1 into W1 plus X2 into W2. So this is a single layer perceptron, but this is not enough for solving real life problem. Okay. However, this particular structure one can use for solving XOR problem. Right, XOR problem. You can very well use it for solving XOR problem, okay, which is used for, you can say, benchmarking purpose, because that XOR function has got some peculiar characteristics present in it. Right. Now, having said this, as I said, that this is not enough to address real life problem. Let's say you are dealing with handwritten numerals, okay, wherein you are extracting 45 or 50 odd features. So all those features you need to feed through this input layer. So you have to have not only two neurons are not sufficient. So you have to have 50 neurons for that purpose. Okay. So we need to have a little bit more complex structure. Okay. What they call it as multi-layer perceptron. Okay. This is a single layer perceptron. Okay. As I said, you cannot solve real life problem using this. Okay. However, you can solve XOR problem using this. Okay. So what is there in a multi-layer perceptron? Multi-layer perceptron, the structure is something like this. So whatever 40 or 50 odd features in case of handwritten numeral recognition, or maybe you may say the medical diagnosis, okay, whatever features you are extracting, what do? You fed all those values. Okay, definitely you need to carry out pre-processing. And once you have got all those values between 0 and 1, Okay, you will feed all 50 values from x0 to x49 through this input vector. Okay, what next? As I said, that is, we have with each neuron, we have a weight associated with. Okay, so if you have x0 to x49 as the 50 input neuron, definitely you have to have w0 to w49, that is 50 weights. Okay, one with each neuron, right? Then what do? We compute the weighted sum. If you recall here, this is the weighted sum. This is nothing but the weighted sum. That is y equals to w1 into x1 plus w2 into x2. So exactly we are doing in the same manner. That is, weighted sum is equal to summation xi wj. Okay, I and j equals to 0 to n. All right. So you will carry out that computation, that is the weighted sum, and whatever is the values, then it goes through some activation function. Okay, I'll not go into the details of this activation function. Okay, time being, you can assume it as some sort of non-linearity. Okay, some non-linearity is there through which it passes. Okay, it is a function. The popular activation functions are sigmoidal, ReLU, and so on. Okay, and then you get some or the other output here. Okay, you get some or the other output here. So let us assume that the output you are getting in the first case, okay, when you have carried out these computation, the output you are getting is 0.80. The actual output you are getting is 0.80, and the desired output is, let us assume it is 1.2. So meaning thereby there is an error of 1.0 minus 0.8, that is 0.2 is the error. Now we wish to learn the value of these weights. Okay, so what do? In the initial run, we fed all those input values through this x0 to x49, and we start with some random value of weight. Let us assume in the first run, what has happened, we have considered all the value of this weight, that is w0 to w49, as 0.5, and that is how we got this 0.8 as the output. Okay, now point, meaning thereby there is an error of how much? 0.2. Now our objective is to minimize this error, or to make it ideally 0.000000. Now, how we can do that? Right? Now, is it possible to change the input? The answer is a big no, because that is what we are trying to learn. Okay, we are trying to learn these features. Okay, which belongs to, in case of a handwritten numeral, a particular character, particular number, or in case of a, you can say, a medical diagnostic system, to a particular disease. Okay, whatever XYZ disease. Okay, so we wish to learn that if you are having the values like this, then the disease would be like this. Or let's say if you are having the values of all the features like this, then the input number or the numeral is 5 or 4 or 3, whatever. Right. So what I have told you, that is how do we carry out training. We start with some random value of it. We observe the result. Okay. Then you have got 0.2 as the error. Okay. Your objective is to minimize this error. Okay, so whether you can change the inputs, the answer is a big no. Okay, you cannot change the input, because that is what we are trying to learn. The only thing you can change in this particular structure is the value of these weights. Okay, so earlier we considered in the first run the value of all these weights as 0.5. Now you can modify the value of these weights on either side. That is, you can either increase them or you may decrease them. Okay, let us try to make it on the incremental side. Okay, so let us make all these values, input values, instead of 0.5, let us add 0.1. Okay, in all the weights values, make it 0.6, and again observe the result. Compute the weighted sum, pass it through some non-linearity, sigmoidal or ReLU or whatever, and then you will get once again some of the other output. Let's say when you made it 0.6, what has happened? The value you are getting is, let us assume, zero point 0.9. Okay, earlier it was 0.8. The actual value you are getting is 0.9, and the desired value is 1.2. So 1.0 minus 0.9, meaning thereby now the error is 0.1. So the error has been reduced to 0.1, meaning thereby we are in the right direction. Okay, we are in the right direction. So what do we do in the next run? We go on increasing the value of these weights till the value of this error becomes 0.000. And at that point of time, we'll stop training. We declare that the training is over and the weights are normalized, right? So this is how normally we carry out training in case of artificial neural network. Okay, but this is a very broader picture I have given you. Okay, there are a lot of complexities involved. Okay, many times what happens, you stuck up in some local minima. Okay, that error will remain constant. Okay, zero point 0.9 again and again, even though you change the value of the weight. Okay, it is not possible to come out of that minima, so it is referred to as local minima. So many times you are stuck up in some local minima. Okay, so there are ways and means to address that issue, what they call it as adding some momentum term. Okay, that is usually depicted by learning rate or eta. Okay, some constant is being added to come out of that local minimum. Okay, so that is one thing. Then broadly, there are three different strategies one can adopt for learning purpose, machine learning purpose. Okay, the very first strategy is what they call it as the supervised learning or supervised training. So let's say while carrying out the training, okay, if you know the input and if you know the output, that is, if you are trying to map known to known, that is, the inputs are known to you as well as the outputs are known to you. Then we use whatever strategy we use, we call it as a supervised training or supervised learning. Okay. Let's say the other way around, if you know the input, but you are not aware about the output. That is, if you are mapping from known to unknown, it is referred to as unsupervised or semi-supervised training. Okay. And the third strategy is what they call it as the reinforcement training. So, which is very similar to, that is, learning or training by trial and error. Okay, learning or training by trial and error. Okay, the best analogy you can consider for this is whenever a small kid learn how to walk. Okay, so he or she will commit some mistake, fall down, and then again correct on those aspects. And this is how you learn. Okay, this is how you learn. So that is what they call it as trial and error strategy. That is the reinforcement training. So some or the other variant of reinforcement training is being used by all the large language models. Okay, I'm not saying exactly reinforcement training, but there are again numerous modifications are possible. Okay, so there are n number of variants available. Okay, but broadly, this is how the training is basically carried out in neural networks, right, or in artificial neural networks, right. So we are almost done with the basic parts of you can say the artificial neural networks or machine learning. Okay, so whatever large language models you are using nowadays, okay, as a matter of fact, they are all neural networks. Bottom line is they are all neural networks, and this is the strategy what they adopt, okay, for training or learning purpose. Okay, so having said this, when you cycle through from this input to output, okay, it is called as what they call it as one epoch or one iteration. Okay, that is when you cycle through from this input to the output, it is called as one iteration or one epoch. So depending upon the complexity of the problem, you can set these number of epochs to 500, 1000, 5000, 10,000, and so on. Okay, so it all depends what kind of what data you are dealing with. Okay, and what kind of features that data possess. Okay, so it all depends on those things, but broadly I've explained to you that is how the training has been carried out. So in training, what do we do? Or in machine learning, what do we do? We just try to learn the value of these weights. Okay, and once the training is complete, we declare that these weights are normalized and the training is over, right? So having said this, these aspects I think I have already covered. That is how do we update the weights? Okay, per sample updating. Okay, so either you can increment it or you may decrement it. Okay, either way you can make that value with which you are changing is represented by small delta. Okay, so that is delta wi. Okay, that is point one point whatever I was referring to. Then epochs, I think I have explained to you just now. Okay, Now, we started with traditional AI, then machine learning. Okay, machine learning, we have talked at length, various aspects of machine learning, how the training is carried out, and so on. Okay, then the third phase of the evolution of AI was the deep learning algorithms. Okay, deep learning algorithms. So we started using this term DL from 2006 onwards. So probably last 2 decades. Okay. So what are deep learning algorithms? They are nothing but artificial neural networks. Once again, basically it is machine learning only. But why it is called as deep learning? Because the number of layers are quite large. So you have hundreds of layers and millions of neurons. Okay. And that is why the name deep learning. There is nothing more than that. Basically, it is neural network. It is machine learning only. The only thing is that the complexity is little bit high. So what is the advantage of having this kind of a setup? Okay, that is more complex setup. Okay. Now, we'll consider this in the form of, you can say, what kind of input you can give to these deep learning algorithms. If you recall, in case of machine learning, that is the limitation was we have to have numeralized data or structured data. Okay, that is the only way through which we can provide the input to the neural network for learning purpose in case of machine learning. But in case of deep learning, you can provide structured as well as unstructured data. Now, what do I mean by unstructured data? I can give images as the input. Okay, not only structured very well you can, because it is basically machine learning, but these deep learning algorithms are capable of handling unstructured data like images, etc. Okay. And what kind of output you can expect from these deep learning algorithm? The output is once again structured data only. Okay. And the best example is, you can say, you can consider as unlocking the mobile through face recognition. Okay. Unlocking your mobile phone through face recognition. Okay. And this is probably the most common features. Okay. Available in almost all the handsets. Okay. So whenever you purchase a new handset, what do you do basically? Okay, you expose your face from different angle. Okay, to that particular camera. Okay, so the camera will capture different features. So it is basically training. It is basically nothing but the training. So some deep learning algorithm is being executed at the back end. Camera is capturing your face features, okay, learning those face features and storing them in the form of weights, okay, which I think we had a very detailed discussion on those lines. Okay, so it is training, it is learning. Okay, now once the training is over, okay, what next? Once again, when you switch off your switch on your mobile phone, again the camera will capture your face feature and it will try to match those features with the values stored in the weights. If there is a match found, okay, it will unlock your mobile phone. Or the other way around, you will get some appropriate error message, okay, asking you to either key in 4-digit or 6-digit PIN for unlocking your phone. It will say unrecognized face. If somebody else will try, definitely it will say unrecognized face. Okay. So this is how these deep learning algorithms are basically. They are capable of processing images. Okay. They are capable of processing images. Okay. Now this is being used by Government of India as well. Okay. Government of India Transport Department, right, is using this technology extensively for monitoring the speed of moving vehicles on highways. So if you have a speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour, and if you exceed that limit, what will happen? That camera will capture real-time image of your vehicle along with the number and so on. Okay. And immediately you will get a challan issued from the Government of India, Ministry of Transport and Highways. Right. So there are this way, there are a lot of application of this deep learning algorithms and so on. Right. But it is being used extensively. Right. So these algorithms are capable of capturing. Now, the another example you can consider for this deep learning is the auto-driven car. In auto-driven car, what is it exactly? Okay, there are cameras installed. Okay, sensors are installed. Okay, then you simply instruct the car to follow or to reach to a particular destination. So what it will do, it will capture, it will start moving from that end. Okay, and it will capture all the features. If some obstruction is there, it will stop. It will look at the signal. Okay, if the signal is red, once again it will stop. Movement becomes right, green. Okay, it will again start and then start moving. So these are all sensor based. Okay. So what is it exactly? They are capturing some real time data. They are capturing some real time data and taking certain decision appropriately. Okay. If the road is, there is no traffic on the road. Okay. Road is clean. Okay. It will move with a speed of whatever is the, you can say the speed which has been specified at that particular highway, maybe 80 or 100. So it will take decision automatically. So as if some human being is driving your car. Okay. So these, you can say deep learning algorithms are capable of processing images and other real-time data. Okay. And that too in within no time. Okay. Within no time and so on. Right. Now, having said this, the fourth block, if you recall, it was the generative AI. Okay. That is the era we are into at present. Okay. So we will have discussion, detailed discussion, rather demonstration of few of the Gen AI tool. But what is generative AI? Let us try to understand. Right. I think somewhere I've talked about in the beginning, that is the prompt engineering and all. Right. So we interact with these tools are basically a small subset of AI. Okay. This is once again a small subset of AI. But in terms of features, okay, they have got lot of things to offer you. And what are all those things? Okay, those things are you can create new original content. So it is possible to create a research article using these tools. But whether we should use it for that purpose, the answer is a big no. Okay, one should not use it for creation of you can say or generation of ideas or creating research article and then claiming it as your own. Okay, so that is not the way in which they are supposed to be used, but these tools are capable of doing so. Okay, so they can create new original content. Okay, not only content that is the textual data, but they are capable of creating images as well. Okay, so you can create images, okay, and that is what is happening at a very large scale. Okay, so you may misuse some celebrities' photograph, and you can generate uh, some sort of you can say fake photographs using that particular. So which didn't exist before. I'm saying new meaning thereby that image or that contents were not in existence, they are completely new. Okay. So the biggest challenge as far as these generative AI tools are concerned is they are basically challenging your creativity and innovation. Okay. So creativity and innovation, these are the two attributes which are associated with human intelligence that is being challenged by these set of tools. And that is why many times these technologies, that is AI based technologies, are referred to as disruptive technology in some way or the other. Okay, so this is the disruption coming on your way. But is there any solution? Okay, how to now there are very many things which we need to discuss with regard to you can say the NEP 2020. That is, do we have any regulatory framework in place for addressing the usage of these Gen AI tool, okay, for teaching and research? The answer is a big no. Okay, as on date, at least we do not have any regulatory framework or any guidelines or any guiding principles issued by AICT or UGC or DST or any governing body for that purpose. Right. So we need to define our own boundaries. Okay, and we need to behave in a responsible manner. Again, some of you may argue, okay, sir, if we allow the usage of these tools for particularly for student community, it will kill their innovative and creative abilities. Okay, I do agree. But as I said, as on date, we do not have any restrictions. Okay, probably uh, within few months, the government of India may come up with certain guidelines in this regard. But as on date, we do not have anything to deal with all these disruptions. Okay, so we need to behave in a very responsible manner. We need to define our own boundaries. Okay, but these tools are capable of doing all those things. Okay, that is creating new original content, that is in terms of text, images, and composing music. So by writing a prompt, and now all these things you can achieve. You don't require any technical skills for that. Okay, do you require any programming skill? The answer is no. Do you require any technical skill? The answer is no. Okay, so you can very well interact with all these tools, okay, in natural language. Okay, in natural language, meaning thereby you can write everything or you can express your activities in simple English like statements. Okay, and these tools are capable of handling or understanding something written in your natural language. Okay, how do they do that? That we will see in the slides to come. But this is what is generative AI is all about. Now, in terms of input-output modalities, what you can give as input to this generative AI, that one has to understand. So our perspective is from user's perspective. So being a user, okay, what kind of an input you can give to these Gen AI tools? So you can very well give uh, unstructured input. If you recall, in case of DL, it was structured or unstructured. Okay, but the output was once again structured only, even in DL algorithms. Okay, either it will recognize your face or it will say, sorry, I am unable to recognize. Structured only, 0 and 1. Okay, but in case of generative AI, the input is unstructured, okay, and the output is once again unstructured. Okay, so you can give a, either text or image as the input or a combination of text and image as the input. And what kind of output you can expect? You can once again expect unstructured output. And that is why we have these many possibilities here. What are all those possibilities? That is, you can write a prompt in English or any natural language, okay, and ask the tool to generate an image for you. Okay, that is text to image. Okay, the other way around, you can provide an input image, ask the tool to describe that image in the form of text. So image to text is again possible. Okay, then text to music. Okay, you can write down a prompt in any natural language or English, asking the tool to compose a music for a particular song. Okay, it will compose a music for you. Okay, and the most common feature, which is we are well acquainted with, which we call it as the new normal nowadays, is text to text. Okay, that is question answering machine. That is how you interact with this chat GPT. You ask your everyday problem. Okay, and you what do? You approach to chat GPT and ask chat GPT now what to do next. Okay, it will give you a number of suggestions. That is, it will generate text. Now, how it generate text, that is again we'll just try to understand. Okay, so we'll have a deep dive into all those aspects. Okay, but in terms of functionalities, these tools are capable of handling unstructured input and capable of generating unstructured output. So the true power of these Gen AI tool basically lies between the multimodality. That is, you can give text plus image as the input, and you can expect text plus image or the multimodal output. Now, not necessarily image, even you can give video. So any sort of media can be given as the input, right? Not necessarily image only, plain image. Okay, you can give video as well. Okay, and so on and so forth. So that is the true power of this Gen AI tool. Now, none of these tools are available free of cost. Okay, this slide will give you the justification for that, because their training cost is tremendously high. Okay, why I'm saying training cost is tremendously high? This is the data captured from Stanford University 2024 AI Index, quite old, but it will give you an idea. Okay, so the original transformer model, the training cost was only $930. GPT-3, it was 4.3 million US dollar. GPT-4, 78.4 million US dollar. Gemini Ultra, 191.4 million US dollar, and so on. Right. So all these tools, their beta version is available free of cost. So which you may call in general term as the demo version. Okay, we call it as demo version. So that demo versions are available free of cost, but their pro version are always paid. So you need to go for a paid subscription for all those tools. Right. Now, having said this, this slide will give you a summary of whatever we have discussed till now. Okay, starting from you can say the traditional AI to generative AI. So how we move forward, okay, and in terms of certain parameters, where were we when we started in 1956 and where we are in 2026. Okay, so the very first feature or the parameter is the primary goal. Traditional AI, the primary goal was merely recognition and classification. That is, you can recognize certain things. Okay, that's the recognition of your face, you may say. Okay, and classifying certain things, like say classifying the symptoms to certain disease, or classifying handwritten numerals to 10 output classes 0 to 9. Okay, so it was merely a recognition and classification. Generative AI, content creation and synthesis. Okay, so these generative AI, that is in 2026, we are capable of creating content, that too altogether new and original content. Okay, see, the beauty is that is you can create new, altogether new, which didn't exist before, and up to some extent you can claim that they are original. Okay, so new and original content can be created. I said only content creation and synthesis, but what kind of a content? Completely new and original. What about the output type in traditional AI? It was predetermined label or prediction. So you may use up to some specific activity, like say, let's say you want to predict whether there will be rain tomorrow or not. Okay, by using last 10 years of rainfall data. Okay, you can very well do that using this traditional AI. So predictive capabilities up to some extent. Okay, prediction, classification, recognition. Okay, but generative AI, it is altogether different. It is altogether different. What about the data usage? It analyzes the data to find specific trends. Okay, so you can analysis up to some extent. You can analyze this stuff. Whatever data you are using it for training or learning purpose. Generative AI, it learns from the data and to mimic and create. Okay, now you can connect all those dots. Okay, somewhere in the beginning, while defining AI, we said that mimicking human behavior. Okay, and we talk about certain attributes like say creativity and so on. Now all those things are being challenged by this generative AI tool, and that is the real threat for all of us. Right? So the things are a little bit alarming. Okay, but definitely we have to live with this technology. There's no way out. Okay, so the answer is, as far as our teaching and research is concerned, we need to be well acquainted with all these technologies. Right? We need to be aware what is happening, because even if you are not using those tools, but your students are definitely using those tools for carrying out their academic activities, like say um, seminar presentation or assignment submission, whatever you give. Okay, they may use all these tools. Okay. Now, how to control them? That is again a $1 billion question. Okay, that you have to your own ways and means to handle that kind of a scenario. Now, let us see the final parameter. That is the interaction. Traditional AI, it was mostly one way. That is input to the output or input to the result. Okay. But generative AI has got interactive and conversational facilities. Meaning thereby, whenever you are interacting with any Gen AI tool, many times you realize that you are interacting with someone sitting on the other side of your screen and responding to your queries. So it is interactive and conversational. Okay, while demonstrating, okay, I'll definitely try to show you that is how these tools are, in true sense, they are interactive and conversational. But that is new normal nowadays. These tools has got that functionality. Okay, so this is the crust of the story. That is where were we when we started in 1956 and where we are as on in 2026, something like that. Now, I think I said that is Gen AI, it comprises of various small models, what they call it as the core components of the Gen AI tool. Okay. So the very first core component is what they call it as the foundation model. Okay. So what is foundation model? It is nothing but a base model. Okay. It is nothing but the base model which has been trained on massive and diverse data set. So many times, whatever models you are using, whether you are using ChatGPT or DeepSeek, they are all pre-trained model. So the training has been carried out, okay, somewhere on a specific date. And once they are trained, okay, they are capable of responding to your queries. Okay. Now, the another important feature of these foundation models are, okay, the another name which is given to this foundation model is what they call it as the large language model or LLM in short. Okay. So they are basically optimized to handle natural language. Now, as I said, that is, you don't require any programming skill or any technical skill to interact with these models. Okay, so you can interact with them in simple English. And what they can do for you, they can carry out some routine activities like writing, translation, and summarization quite easily for you. So these tasks earlier, that is before the evolution of this Gen AI, okay, they seems to be a bit difficult or challenging for you can say the AI. Okay, but what has happened now? These tools are doing all these things. That is writing, maybe translating from one particular language to any other language. Okay, and summarizing articles. So we'll have demonstration of these lines. Okay, so but what are all large language models? Okay, what are LLMs? So LLMs are nothing but neural networks. Okay, these are nothing but the neural networks, and they are capable of predicting the next word in the input sequence. So how do they generate the output? They generate the output by following a very simple strategy, that is by simply predicting the next word in an input sequence. Okay, so they are neural network. Okay, pre-trained. How the training is carried out, okay, that we have already seen. Okay, so we use massive large data sets for carrying out their training. And since the data is massive in terms of volume, okay, so definitely the training time may be in months and so on. Okay, and even your general purpose CPUs are not enough for carrying out training. Okay, you have to have GPUs, that too in large numbers. Okay, so we have data centers. You must have heard about all those aspects. Okay, wherein these machines are running 24 by 7 and the training is being carried out, okay, 24 by 7 by the users data and so on. Okay, so what are large language models? They are nothing but the neural networks which are capable of predicting the next word in the input sequence. So for example, to any large language model, whether it is ChatGPT or DeepSeek, if you give all that glitters as the input, so it will come out with an answer that is not gold. Okay. So what are large language models? They are nothing but the neural networks. Okay, which is trained to predict the next term in an input sequence. So all that glitters is not gold. Okay, it will come up something like this. Right. Now, having said this, how do so we'll just try to understand what are the various steps in which this activity is basically carried out. But before jumping into all those aspects, the another important core component of this GenAI tool is what they call it as transformers. So what are transformers? Basically, transformers has got some built-in attention mechanism. Okay, so it is a model which is capable of understanding the context in which the prompt has been written. Okay. So, what are prompts? Basically, prompts are nothing but something written in English like statements. So, in a single prompt, you may have 4 or 5 statements. So, these transformers are capable of processing those words, okay, sentences, and their context, the context in which those prompts have been crafted, right? So that context understanding is possible due to the attention mechanism inherently present in the transformer. So that is the second important component of this GenAI tool. And then definitely we need to train them, fine tune them. Okay, many times you need to train them with your own personal data or organizational data. Okay, that is again the another aspect which is needed. Okay, then there are various popular, you can say the Gen AI models, okay, which you must be well acquainted with, like say GPT series, okay, which is the product of OpenAI, okay, wherein you have n number of versions of GPT, Chat GPT, okay, 4, 4.5 and whatnot. But these GPT models, they have got this conversational ability, okay, conversational ability. That is, while interacting with ChatGPT, many times you realize that you are interacting with some person who is sitting on the other side and responding to you. Then we have Dell and Midjourney. IBM Granite is there, Cloud and Gemini is there, okay, which are referred to as next gen, you can say the models and so on, okay. But all these models, they suffers from one important problem. Okay, that is one of the biggest problem associated with all these Gen AI models. Okay, irrespective of whether it is IBM Granite or ChatGPT or Cloud or Gemini, right? All of them, they suffers from a one basic problem, what they call it as the black box problem. Let us try to understand what this black box problem is all about, right? So what is a black box problem? Whenever you interact with these tools, what happens? You follow this strategy, right? You provide some input. Okay, it is being processed by the large language model, and you get some or the other output. Okay. So while interacting with these tools, okay, whatever input you give, it is being processed, and then you get some or the other output. But how this tool has arrived to this particular answer, this is not known to anybody in the world. Let's say you are using GPT series, and if you approach the OpenAI people, okay, and let us assume that they connect you to their development team, which is responsible for the development of that GPT 4.5 or whatever you are using, right? So, and if you again ask them the same query, just give me the justification how this tool has generated this particular response. Okay, so what that development team will tell you, they will once again say, okay, sorry sir, will not in a position to give any justification. That is how this tool has arrived at this particular answer. Why? The reason is pretty simple. That is, the complexity of this large language model is very high, meaning thereby there are hundreds of layers, millions of neurons. So nobody in the world can justify that how that particular tool has arrived at a particular or a specific answer. Okay. So that is what they call it as a black box. That's why it is referred to as a black box. Okay, it is referred to as a black box. So you don't know what is happening within that box. Okay, that is what they call it as the black box. Okay. So what is the solution? Okay, again, that is the research area. Okay, in this particular domain, what they call it as the explainable AI or XAI, which is depicted by capital X AI or explainable AI, or transforming that black box into a transparent box. Okay, or adding up some explainable component. Okay, which will justify how a tool has arrived at a particular answer. Okay. But as on date, all these GenAI tools, they suffers from this black box issue. Okay, and there are solutions. So there are you can say the frameworks available like SHAP and Lime. Okay, that is the complete research area. Okay, which you can explore if you are from computer science. Okay, So a lot of people are working on those lines, that is to add the explainability component to any existing model, okay, which itself is requires a lot of effort. Okay. So having said this, there are various popular Gen AI model. Now, how to use it for, you can say, education and research. Okay. So you can use all these tools. Okay. If time permits, I will show you. There is a product from Google, what they call it as anti-gravity, Google anti-gravity. Okay, so you can download that Google anti-gravity application, okay, and simply give a command, or sorry, a prompt in very two, not more than 2 or 3 statements, asking the tool to generate an application for the generation of lesson plan, creating quizzes, creating PowerPoint presentation, okay. So after the interaction of 3 to 4 minutes, okay, it will seek your permission. Okay, once you say grant all those things, say proceed, it will generate a full-fledged application, and you will be surprised to note that that application can be created within 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so that is one use case for, you can say, for education. Okay, for research, you can use all these GenAI tool for summarizing dense research paper. Okay, I'll demonstrate one particular tool, what they call it as illicit. Okay, so wherein we will see that how we can analyze and synthesize research paper using illicit. Okay, so there are, this way there are hundreds of tools available, but I will take one, consider one example from each category. Okay, then with regard to commercial application, you name the area. Marketing, you have a number of applications. Healthcare, again, you have numerous applications. Finance, you have numerous applications, and so on and so forth. Right. So now the market is flooded with all these applications, right? So you have hundreds of tools. Okay, you name the activity, you'll find some or the other tool there. Okay. Now let us try to understand, that is, what are the key characteristics of these large language or these LLMs in short, right? So these are the two important characteristics of these large language models. The very first one is they are capable of understanding something written in natural language. Okay, so these LLMs understand natural language. Okay, and how do they do that? We have some deep learning algorithm running at the back end. Okay, now don't ask me what is DL and machine learning. Okay, so what that algorithm will do, it will process those words, sentences, and they go one step beyond. That is, they are capable of understanding the context in which that prompt has been written. I hope you are getting it. Right. So text understanding, but up to what extent? Not only the words and the sentences, but the context. Okay, and that is due to transformer, if you recall. Okay, while discussing the foundation model, okay, we have talked about that context. So grasping the context is due to that transformer, which is an inherent component of, you can say, any large language. Then second is, once they are finished with this particular activity, they have understood everything, what are your intention, the context, words, sentences. These tools are capable of generating text. But what kind of a text they can generate? Okay, they will generate coherent, contextually relevant text based on the input. Okay, coherent and contextually relevant. It will not generate anything which is irrelevant. Okay, so and that is the true power of these large language models. Okay, even though they seems to be question answering machine, but they carry out, they are capable of carrying out those activities. Okay, with a human touch, you may say. Okay, with a human touch, you may say. Right. So these are the two important characteristics of these large language model. Now, how do they function? Okay, there are 5 steps in which these LLM works. Okay. What are all those steps? The very first step is what they call it as tokenization. Okay. So what do I mean by tokenization? That is, whatever prompt you type, okay, whatever statement you are typing, okay, that statement will be converted into tokens. Okay. So what is a token? Token, for simplicity, you can assume that in a particular prompt, let's say you have used 25 odd words, then how many tokens the LLM will generate? It will generate minimum 25 tokens. So for simplicity, you can assume each word as one token. Okay, each word has one token, but it is not like that. Okay, many times the number of tokens are more than the number of words, because if you add ing in a particular word or es in a particular word, it will be considered as another token. Right? It will be considered as another token. Right? So that's why I said the number of tokens are more than the number of words. Okay, but for simplicity, each word you may consider it as one token. Right? So this is how the tokens are created. Okay, now once you have created the token, what next is needed? Okay, you need to convert those tokens into numerical vectors. Okay, now you can very well connect why. Because if you recall, in case of machine learning, what we need to have data, that too in the form of numbers, and to be very precise, numbers between 0 and 1. Right? So that is why these tokens, because it is not possible to process words using any algorithm. Okay, so you have to have numbers. Okay, so you need to convert those tokens from words to, you can say, numbers or numerical vectors. Okay, then what next? Once you are done with these two steps, okay, the third step is self attention. So the model assesses which part of the text are most important for understanding the query. Okay. So just like you and I, when we appear in an examination hall, okay, and let's say there is a question carrying 6 marks, okay, wherein some sort of explanation is expected, and the second part is justify your answer. Okay, the question carries 6 marks, so you very well know that 4 marks are for this explanation and 2 for justification. So this justification you will underline while crafting the answer, because if you miss the justification, okay, you will be evaluated from out of 4 only. So you'll miss those 2 marks, right? So you know the importance of that word, okay, and that's why on the similar line, these tools are capable of understanding what is important in a particular prompt. Okay, so that is what they call it as self attention. Now, once that is done, predictive capabilities. I think I have talked. We have discussed this at length. That is, these models, they are capable of predicting the next word or token based on the context provided by the text. Okay. So predictive capabilities, and that is how they generate the output. So at the end, the last step is response generation. So the model generates a response by predicting and stringing together relevant words in a coherent manner. Okay. So how do they generate the response? They follow this particular strategy. That is, predicting and stringing together the relevant words in a coherent manner. Okay. So this is how these are the 5 steps in which the LLM basically works. Now we are left with what? We are left with only one thing, what they call it as the prompt engineering. Okay. So probably the second slide was with regard to the prompt engineering, then context engineering, and then the third was the harness engineering. Harness will not be in a position to cover, but definitely we will cover prompts. Okay, that is how to create, how to write prompts for carrying out certain activities, and how to create AI agents for certain workflow automation. Okay, that is the context engineering. Okay, so wherein you can club 4 5 tools for carrying out some activity or for automating some jobs. Okay, that is context engineering. Harness engineering is not possible as far as the demonstration is concerned, but definitely we'll have something on prompt and the context engineering. So what is a prompt engineering? Prompt engineering basically refers to the practice of crafting precise input to guide AI systems in generating accurate and relevant responses, maybe in minimum number of words, okay, without making any compromises on the output. There are very many things, okay. How to write it as precise as possible, okay, because if you write rather if you can achieve the same task, okay, with less number of words, definitely it will consume less number of tokens, because each LLM, it comes with some predefined token limit per chat. Okay, and that token limit is 1 million token per chat. Okay, but that is there. Okay, so our objective is always to use as minimum as possible, right? The number of tokens I am referring to, right? So how to write effective prompts? Okay, that is what they call it as, is one complete area which has emerged. What they call it as the prompt engineering. Now there are various prompt engineering techniques. Okay, it's not possible to cover all, but definitely we'll discuss few basic techniques. So the very first prompt engineering technique is what they call it as the zero shot prompting. Okay, it's called as zero shot prompting. So what is zero shot prompting? Wherein we don't give any example. So in zero shot prompting, normally whenever you interact with these tools, okay, for the very first time, you interact in a manner what they call it as the zero shot prompting. You ask the tool to explain or elaborate on some particular aspect of some phenomena or some entity. Okay, so wherein you don't give any example. Okay, normally we don't give any example. Okay, but zero shot prompting, definitely you will get more generic responses generated by it. It will not be specific, very broad, very generic. Okay, and many times you get disappointed. You feel that what is new in that? Okay, if you Google it again, Google gives you that kind of stuff generated quite easily. Okay, Google has nowadays got this AI mode as well, right? So anyway, Google is again using AI. Okay, now the Google's approach earlier, it has changed completely. Okay, if you carry out Google search, okay, that is the traditional way of Google search. It uses page ranking algorithm. Now Google is again using AI. Okay, so you have a Google AI mode, right? So again, it is being used by almost all the search engines. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that is zero shot prompting. You don't give any example. Okay, now if you don't give any example, you get generic responses generated by the tool, right? So and you get disappointed. Okay, but let's say if you give one example. Okay, if you give one example, say for example, uh, I am into manufacturing of mobile phone. Okay, and I want the festive season going on, and I want to launch my mobile, for which I wish to uh, carry out some sort of uh, campaign, marketing campaign. Okay, and I wish to generate a tagline for this product. Okay, so what I can do in this case, I can give uh, the tagline of my competitor. Let's say Nokia or Motorola, or for that purpose, any mobile handset or iPhone is my competitor. Okay. So what I'll do, I will provide that tagline of my competitor, any one of these, whatever I have spelled out just now. Okay. As the example to the tool, and then I ask the tool to generate a tagline for my new mobile handset. Okay. So what will happen? The tool will analyze that tagline. Okay. It will exactly come to know what the user want. Okay. And accordingly, it will generate a tagline for my new mobile handset. Okay. Which will be more tailored as per my expectation. Right. So this way you can give one example. You may give more than one example. If you are giving two or three example, then it is called as few short prompting. It is called as few short prompting. So you may give one example, one short prompting. Okay. Few short prompting wherein you are giving more than one example. Okay. That is two or three, etc. Okay. That is called as few short prompting and so on. Then we have another prompt engineering technique, what they call it as role prompting, wherein you can assign a role or persona to a particular tool. Okay. So you may say that assume you are a research assistant, or you are a director of a particular educational institute, and then you ask your query. Now, when you do so, what will happen? The tool very well understand what are the roles and responsibilities of a particular role. Okay. So it will generate more tailored responses as per your expectation. So ideally, what is needed in a prompt is you need to specify the role first, then you may say task, then instructions, okay, if you wish to pass, and at the end you can provide some data, as I said, examples. So RTID is the ideal way. That is role, then T for task, okay, and then I for instruction and D for data. Okay, D for data. Now, it all depends. It is not necessary to have all the components in a particular prompt, but this is the, you can say, the most optimal sequence in which one can craft the prompts. Okay, optimal, I'm saying. Okay, wherein you get better response generated by the same tool. So role is very crucial. Okay, so you may assign any role, okay, to a particular tool, and then you can pose your query. So you will get more tailored responses generated by the tool. Right. Now, having said this, there are few more, that is what they call it as chain of thought prompting, or COT, which involves basically breaking down a task into smaller logical steps. One big task can be broken down into n number of small tasks, and then you allow the AI to reason through intermediate steps and give you the response generated by the in the form of the final answer. So that is what they call it as chain of thought. Then you have meta prompting, wherein you can even ask the tool to generate prompts for you. But definitely this will require more expert level of reasoning and sophisticated responses. It is not that easy, but it is possible. Okay, meta prompting, what they call it. Then tree of thought prompting, wherein the AI explores multiple possible paths. Let's say I'm in Amravati and I wish to go to, you can say, Patna in Bihar. Okay. So what the tool will do, it will explore all the possible paths. Okay. Let's say 4 or 5 possible paths are there. So it will explore all those 4 or 5 possible paths in real time manner, and it will give me the most optimal path in terms of traffic condition, okay, toll, okay, road conditions, and so on. Okay, that is what they call it as tree of thought prompting. Will give you the most optimal answer, okay, as the output. Then prompt chaining, which involves linking multiple prompts together in a sequence. Okay, with each new prompt building on the output from the previous one. What we call it as cascading. The output of one prompt is given as input to the next, and so on in a cascaded manner. Okay, that is what they call it as prompt chaining. Okay, now there are a few other things which are again very important while using all these GenAI tool or large language model. There are certain parameters, okay, which we must be concerned about while interacting with these tools. Okay, so many times we don't know how these parameters are basically sets, right? How they are basically set, and that's why many times we get disappointed. Okay, so many times you realize that you are writing a prompt which is very precise and apt, but the tool is not generating the appropriate response. So the reason lies in these parameter settings. So the very first parameter is what they call it as temperature. Okay, temperature is the very first parameter. Okay, so the range of this temperature is between 0 to 1. Okay, if you keep the value of this temperature as 0.0, that is lowest, okay, you will get more predictable responses generated by you, or more generic responses generated by you. And that's why many times you get disappointed. I mean, what is new in this particular tool? There's nothing, right, astonishing, right? So what you can do, if you keep it, if you set it to some higher values, let's say you make it 0.9 or 1.0, same prompt, okay, whatever you have given earlier, okay, the only change you carry out was you change the value of this temperature from 0.0 to 0.9. Same prompt will generate more creative or more random responses. I hope you are getting me. Right? What I am trying to emphasize, higher the value of this temperature, higher the creativity or higher the randomness, right? Or higher the randomness, right? So you need to simply check it out. Now, how to set it, that I will show you in the demonstration part, time permits. Then the another important parameter is what they call it as max token, right? So what is max token? It basically defines the length of the response. So longer the token limits, it results in more detailed answers. As I have told you, that is everything is in terms of tokens. Okay, and you have some preset limit. Okay, that is not more than 1 million token per chat for almost all the large language models. Okay, so definitely all the users, they try to minimize this the usage of tokens. Okay, but you can deal with that aspect using this max. Then there is another parameter, what they call it as top P. Okay, let's say I want to generate a response of approximately 200 words. That is, I wish to generate an abstract for my research article, wherein the word limit is 200. So how can I do that, right? You can very well do it by or achieve it by setting up this top P to 200 words. Okay, so it will generate response less than 200 words. Okay, then we do have frequency penalty and presence penalty. Okay, many times while interacting with these tools, okay, you get certain things being repeated again and again, and so you get redundant responses. Okay, if you want to avoid that, okay, you need to set this frequency penalty and presence penalty appropriately, right? So that is again, I'll show you probably in the demonstration part. Now, does this mean that all these tools are fantastic? Okay, that is the end of the story. That is Gen AI is the end of the story. The answer is a big no. Okay, all these Gen AI tools or large language models, they suffers from n number of problems. And what are all those problems? Okay, those problems are simply jot down here, as you can see. Right. The very first problem this LLM suffers from is the hallucination. We are all from academics. Okay, you conduct viva voce examination of your students. Okay. So even if the student doesn't know the answer, he or she will try to give you something wrong, but they attempt. Okay, they want to show that they know something about it, right? Okay, or rather pretend. Okay, so on the similar line, even if the tool doesn't know the answer, it will try to give you some or the other answer, definitely wrong. Okay, that is what they call it as hallucination. Then we have a bias. Okay, then knowledge cutoff is there. As I said, all these large language models are pre-trained model. Okay, so let's say the training has been carried out in December 2024. So whatever has happened from 1st of January 2025 to 23rd of August 2026, that is not known to the tool, right? That is the knowledge cutoff. Okay, so that is the another issue with all these large language model. Then it doesn't know about you or your organization. No. So what you need to do, you need to train it with your own personal or organizational data. Okay, but that is the again problem, and that's why they generate similar responses irrespective of who is interacting with the tool. Okay, then training cost is high. I think we have talked much on those lines. Okay, then latency is there. That is the time taken to get an output. Okay, that is the another bottleneck. Then, as I said, that is all these large language model, they have a preset limit of 1 million token per chat. This token limitation is the another issue, okay, associated with this large language model. So this way, numerous problems are associated with this large language model. Now, why I'm emphasizing on all these things, that is one should not over rely on all these tools. Okay, let's say if you generate certain reports, okay, and it has generated some fantastic data for you, don't over rely on it. Okay, simply because uh, all these stuff is being generated from certain sources which are available in free and open source platform. Let's say that source itself is wrong, which is being used for crafting the answers for you. Okay, so you need to you can say very identify the authenticity of that particular source. If that source is reliable, there's nothing wrong. Okay, definitely but that source itself is having some problem. Okay, definitely you will face some problem, right? So token limitation. Now, what is the solution to all these problems? Okay. The solution to all these problems is one engineering approach, what they call it as RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. Using RAG, you can address all these issues quite easily. So what do we do in RAG? Basically, we download some pre-trained model and fine-tune or retrain them with our own personal or organizational data. That is very broad picture I am telling you. Okay. So you need to build, you can build your own large language model, okay, based on some existing free and open source model. Okay, so what is expected is that is you download some LLM, okay, okay, and then carry out some fine tuning with your own personal or organizational data. But again, it is possible that your organizational data is not very small. Okay, let's say you are into business, active business. Okay, and if you are referring to your sales figure for the last quarter, that data volume in terms of volume, again, it is quite large. Okay, so what we need to do is we cannot give the entire data in a single go. What we need to do is we need to divide that data into small chunks, and that is what we call it as chunking. Okay, that is dividing the large document into small chunks of some specified token limit. Let's say 500 tokens or 600 tokens or 1000 tokens. It all depends what kind of data you are dealing with and what is the volume of that data. Okay. So you need to fed that data in small chunks. Okay. So definitely you need to pre-process that data, keep it ready for you can say the training purpose and so on. Then that is again not enough. Okay, many times we need to carry out what they call it as the chunk overlapping. Let's say you have decided 500 tokens as the chunk size. So chunk number one will begin from 1 to 500, chunk 2 501 to 1000. Instead of doing so, what do? We overlap the chunk. That is the second chunk. Instead of starting from 501, we started from 451. And what is the reason? Why do we do so? The objective is to simply keep the connectivity between two different chunks. Okay, so how chunk 1 is connected with chunk 2 and chunk 2 is connected with chunk 3, we need to carry out chunk overlapping. Right? That is the second step. Then the third step is embedding, okay, which we are well acquainted with. If you recall our discussion with regard to the various steps of the manner in which the large language model basically functions. Okay, so we do have an embedding over there. So what is embedding? That is converting those words into numerical vectors. Then we generate some vector database. Okay, vector database is being generated. That is the fourth step, and finally we carry out some similarity search. Okay, wherein you may use Euclidean distance or cosine search and so on. So this is a broad picture of, you can say, retrieval augmented generation. And using this approach, using this engineering approach, okay, you can address all these problems, whatever I have talked about. Right? That is what they call it as RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Okay, so let me give one simple analogy. That is, how does this, you can say, the LLM differs from RAG. Okay, LLM, you can consider it as your conventional examination system. Okay, wherein you don't allow student to carry any learning material with them in the examination hall. So whatever they learn before entering into the examination hall, that is the only knowledge which they can use for crafting the answers in the examination hall. Okay, but this RAG is very similar to an open book examination, wherein you are allowing the student to carry n number of resource material, books, journals, research paper, whatever they feel like, okay, with them. Okay, and not only you are allowing them to carry, you are allowing them to use those resource material while crafting the answers in the examination. Okay, so definitely the answers will be more accurate, okay, more latest. Okay, some of the student may even refer to some research paper in that domain. So while crafting the answer, they may come up with certain things which are very recent, okay, which has been published in the recent past, and so on. So RAG is very similar to that. Okay, so we don't have anything like say hallucination. Okay, we don't have anything like hallucination, right? We don't have anything like bias. We don't have all those issues are basically overcome by this RAG approach, right? So this is a typical retrieval generation loop wherein the user is firing the query, it goes to the retriever from there. Okay, if we don't find there in the knowledge base, this is the you can say the matter which we have used for the training purpose, pre-trained model, whatever we are using. So don't find there, okay, it refers to this the vector database which we have created using RAG approach, and it will extract the desired stuff again given back to the retriever from where it is given to the user and so on. So RAG key features, RAG as the researcher, okay, look up before speaking, as I said, factual foundation, domain accuracy will be very high in this case. Production ready AI, okay, you can use it for real time deployment. Okay, they are very modular and flexible. Okay, that is again you can carry out the training after a few months, next quarter data you can use, and so on. So it reduces hallucination risk. Okay, then you have transparency and explainability, okay, because you exactly know what is happening, right? Then future proof architecture, okay, wherein we have decoupling of data retrieval and generation. So there are three different models, okay, which makes it bit easier for us to modify or change, may carry out changes in the architecture, right? So this is a typical, you can say, search vector knowledge base, then the large language model, real time data, and the query will be answered in this way. So this RAG is the solution to all the limitation of large language models. Now, how to use it for research? Okay. Now, as I said, that is you can use all these tools for carrying out research. Okay. But what are the gray areas? Okay, that is up to what extent you can use all these tools for research. Okay, there are certain conditions which apply here, right? One should not use all these GenAI tools for generation of ideas. However, you may use them for analyzing, synthesizing, and carrying out some other routine activity. But for, you can say, idea generation or for creating articles using this GenAI tool, one should avoid, okay, because that is highly dangerous. Let's say even if you do so, and when you put that particular paper, whatever article you have generated using this GenAI tool into any Plaque tool, you will face a lot of problems over this. What are all those problems? Those problems are like, let's say, it will identify that stuff as AI generated. So it will not exactly come up whether it has been generated by some XYZ tool, but it will be flagged as AI generated stuff, right? It will be flagged as AI generated stuff. So that's why I'm saying don't use it. So whether you use Authenticate or Trinity, okay, those tools are again capable of handling these kind of issues, right? So don't use it for idea generation. Now, what is the thumb rule which you can adopt? The thumb rule says that is simply adhere to the guideline issued by various publishing houses as far as the usage of this Gen AI tool for research is concerned. Okay. So most of us, we are from engineering background, let's say. So we have IEEE mandates. Okay. So simply look at what IEEE says about this. That is, you can use all these tools only for editing and grammar, not for anything else. Now, the usage of this tool is permissible for carrying out only these two activities, that is editing and grammar enhancement, not for anything else. Right? So I hope you are getting right. So you can use it for only these two activities, right? Not for anything else. So similarly, let's say if you wish to publish something in Stranger Nature, okay, follow the guidelines. Okay, refer to their latest guideline, okay, which are there normally on their home pages, okay, and simply adhere to those guidelines. Okay, don't apply your brain. Then whether you can use it for teaching and education, yes, you can very well adopt it. Student assessment again can be done. There's nothing wrong in that. Then teaching learning, you can use it. Okay, I'll show you certain tools on all those fronts. Wherein rather one simple tool which you can adopt, which has got all these features. Okay, that we'll discuss. Okay, then for research quality, as I've already said, that is with certain conditions, that is certain asterisks are there. Okay. Now this slide will give you an insight, that is what are the various tools which we are going to discuss in the second part of the session. Okay. So wherein I have jot down like say consensus, illicit, research habits, sky space, and so on. Okay. So we'll have discussion on those lines. We'll have certain things on the context engineering front as well, wherein we will see how to build our own agent. Okay, that I will demonstrate in the second session. And apart from that, we'll have some other tools as well, okay, which you can adopt without making any compromises on ethical front. Okay. So with this, we are almost done with the, can say the first part of the session. Now, if you have any query, okay, you can fire it now. Okay, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, dear participant, I hope you people are with me. Let me check. Yeah, around 35 odd participants are there. So anything you would like to ask? Let's say if you are not comfortable in unmuting yourself, you can put your queries in the chat box. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Dr. Vijay. Yeah,
Sir.
please. Yes.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Very good
Everything
afternoon.
was loud and clear. I
Okay.
don't have any question.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, but
Thank you,
just
sir.
allow me a 5 minute break. Please don't go away. Okay.
Sir. Yes, yes,
Please
yes,
don't
yes,
go away. I need a break for having a cup of tea. That is all. Okay. By that time, you
yes,
can again have your tea. Okay. And we'll
yes,
continue at probably it is 3:55. So at 4 o'clock, we'll continue our deliberation. Okay. Wherein I'll
yes,
demonstrate some of these tools. Thank you very much.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, but please don't go away. Be present in the meeting itself. Okay. That is my humble
Yes,
request.
sure.
So dear participant, welcome back. Okay, I hope you can hear me and all of you are with me.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor Vijay.
Yes, sir.
Vijay Kushal Patil, sir. Okay.
Yes,
You're
sir.
from Maharashtra, sir?
Nandurbar.
Okay, great. Great to
Yes, sir.
see you. Great.
Yes, sir.
Which college, sir? Nandurbar? Engineering college.
Engineering college in Shahada.
Okay, Shahada. Okay.
Shahada is on border of Gujarat and Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh.
Okay, great. Then you have a multicultural sort
Yes,
of
sir.
a thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great to see you
Uh,
here. Okay, and thank you
you-
for joining our training program.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mm.
So we'll take a recap of what we have already discussed within a minute. Okay, we
Yes,
have started our journey with traditional AI, which follows certain rules, if you recall, right? Wherein you explicitly program, write down certain rules, build systems, what they call it as expert systems. And the typical example is playing chess and so on. Okay, then we moved into machine learning, wherein we can build a model that can predict. Okay, and it will be mostly a number. Okay, that is, if you recall, that is, we have to have structured data. Okay, that is maybe predicting rainfall or maybe predicting the future value of a particular script in share market and so on. Then deep learning, wherein we build a model which can understand complex problems and capable of dealing with unstructured data, like say images or video or text, right? So for example, tracking a car, right? Challans we are getting, right, due to this deep learning evolution, right? So wherein some or the other, you can say, electronic gadget like camera or sensor is being used for capturing the real-time data, and based on that data, these tools are capable of processing that data and acting upon. Okay, so tracking the speed of a car, okay, that is the deep learning example, okay, or maybe unlocking your mobile phone using face recognition and so on. Then Gen AI, wherein you can create new content based on the data. Okay, so image generation, text generation, music creation, you can do lot many things. Okay, so you have multi-modal functionality in Gen AI. Okay, then predictive AI is there, okay, which is mostly used for prediction and classification, and so on and so forth. Okay, then we'll talk on AI agents, okay, wherein we will talk about that is how to generate, you can say, workflow automation, okay, wherein we will have a look at Zapier. तो हम Zapier पे बात करेंगे, then we'll just try to using Zapier again you can create, or you can create you can say workflow automation using N8N. Okay, so any one of them will try. Okay, we'll start with some basic tool. Okay, just allow me to share my entire screen with you. Okay, let me share my entire screen. Okay, so I hope my entire screen is visible to you now.
yes, sir.
Okay, let us begin our journey with a very basic tool. Okay, which is helpful in teaching, learning, and research. Okay, and the name of that tool is, and this is completely free as on date. So we'll be focusing on most of the things which are available free of cost. Okay, because I know we are all from teaching or academic fraternity, wherein we don't have any funding for all these activities. Okay, so let us begin our journey with a very basic tool, what they call it as the notebook LM. Okay, I don't know how many of you are using it, but if you are not using it, please start using this particular tool. So this tool is provided by Google, and for using this tool, you don't require anything other than your Gmail account. Okay, so go to your Gmail account. Right now, I'm showing you my Gmail account. Okay, then go to this Google Apps 9 dots, scroll down. Okay, at the bottom, you will find this notebook LM. Okay, now the another name which has been given to this notebook LM is what they call it as the Gemini notebook. Okay, this is recently they have renamed it. Okay, earlier it was referred to as you can say notebook LM. Now it is a Gemini notebook. Okay, so this is how the interface is. Okay, once you click on that, okay, you will find something like this on the screen. Okay, now your objective is to, now this tool can be used for you can say teaching, learning, research, or creating research proposal and so on. There are a lot many things you can do. You can even create PowerPoint presentation. You can even carry out student assessment and so on. So within 2 to 3 minutes, I will demonstrate you the entire functionality. Okay. So just allow me to do so. Okay. So let's say you wish to create a new notebook. So you can click on this create new. Okay. Or the other way around, you will find a create new notebook tab here. So simply click on create new notebook tab. Okay. It will show you something like this. Okay. Now, what you need to do is there are 3 panel. Okay. The very first one is wherein you are supposed to specify the sources. So this is the sources, then you can chat. Okay. So then, and on the right hand side, you have got some studio functionality. So we'll discuss all these features in little bit more detail. Now your objective is to create a new notebook. Okay. So how you can do that? Okay. Simply click on this add sources. Okay. Moment you click on add sources, something like this will appear on your screen. Let's say you have already downloaded few research papers. Okay, if you have already downloaded few research paper and you wish to create a notebook out of it, okay, you can use this upload file button. Okay, wherein moment you click on that, okay, it will ask you to upload the desired file, go to the respective folder and simply select all those files and upload all those files. Okay. The other way around, you can extract certain things from websites like say YouTube or any other website for that purpose. Or let's say if something is there on your Google Drive, you may use this drive option, or something you have copied on your clipboard, you wish to paste it. Okay, you can use this copied text option, or you can simply drag and drop files here in this particular area. So what are the various file formats supported by this particular tool? PDF, images, doc, audio, and there are many. So these many file formats are basically supported by this particular tool. So you can upload any of these files, okay, whether it is JPG or JPE or JPEG or HEIF, TIFF, and so on. So anything can be uploaded, okay, these many types of. Let's say we are not interested in doing so, rather we are interested in searching something on the internet. So if you can give me any topic, let's say AI in any specific domain you intend me to create a web notebook for. Any suggestions? Or let's say AI in, let's say, psychology. Okay. Indian. Okay, this is the topic which I have given. Let's say, let us assume that I wish to deliver a session on this. Okay, and I want to create a notebook out of it. So this is the topic which I have given. Okay. Now, I'm sorry that I've forgotten to tell you that is there are 2 modes. One is the deep search, another is the basic search. So if you go for a deep search, definitely it will consume more time. Okay. By default, a basic search is there. So what has happened? It has identified around 10 odd sources here. Now your role is very crucial in this regard. That is while picking up the sources. Okay. So let's say if the sources themselves are not appropriate or relevant, okay, the stuff it will generate, it will be according to based on those sources. Okay. So what you can do, you can go to this view button, look at each and every source. Okay. You can click and examine that source by simply clicking on this hyperlink. Okay. And let's say if you feel it is not appropriate, you can deselect it or you can select it. Okay. So let us assume in our case, we are satisfied all these with all these 10 sources. This way you can add as many as 50 odd sources. 50. Okay. So in the single notebook, what I am saying. Okay. Now let's say you are satisfied with all these sources. Simply say import. Moment you say import, it will create a notebook out of it. Okay. All right. So it has given a title as well, that is AI and Traditional Wisdom in Indian Society and Business as the title of that notebook. Okay. Now this panel is intended for chatting with all those 10 sources. Now you can chat with all these 10 sources, okay, by writing here. Okay, let's say there are some predefined questions again it has generated. That is, how can AI act as a bridge to Indian wisdom? or what are the unique barriers to mental health care in India. So you can pick any one of them. Okay, it will respond to that particular question. Okay, so it will read. Now the response would be generated by referring all these 10 odd sources. Okay, it will not be based on one single source, right? It is verifying, assessing. So this is what I was referring to. That is, there is a time lapse. Okay, what we call it as time delay. Okay, between the query you have fired and the answer it has generated. Okay, or let's say you can give your own. You can type that query and simply click on this arrow key. Okay, it will generate. So this is the chat functionality. On the right hand side, you can do lot many things with regard to teaching, learning, and research. Okay, so the very first feature, which is probably I feel is the most important one, is you can create an audio by simply clicking on this audio. Okay. So again, moment you click on that audio, and this audio can be created in these many Indian languages. Okay. Let's say I'm from Maharashtra, so we have a Marathi here, local language. But again, Hindi is there, then Bengali, Gujarati, and there are a few more South Indian languages are there. So you can pick any one of these, okay, for creation of the audio. By default, it is in English. Okay. So again, there are various formats, templates available. You can create a brief video, critique, debate, deep dive. Okay, let us try deep dive. Okay, so it will create an audio, and what kind of audio? That audio will be a conversational audio between two persons based on these 10 sources. That is, all these 10 sources will be utilized. One fellow will be asking the question, and the another fellow will be responding to those questions. Okay, so it will be a conversational audio, very similar to podcast. Okay, so which you can definitely hear and you can listen. Okay, and you can very well learn or grasp that concept. Okay, on the similar line, you can create a explainer video. Okay, by clicking on this video link button. Okay, let's say you want to create a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, .pptx or .pdf. These are the two file formats in which the stuff would be generated. So slide deck is there. Again, detailed or presenter slide. Okay, you can pick anyone. Okay, and then simply say generate. And simply say generate. So PowerPoint presentation can be created. Then you can create a mind map. Okay, which is helpful in teaching learning. Okay, then for assessment, you can create flashcard exercise. Okay, again, you can set the difficulty level. Okay, how many questions you want, fewer, more, standard, using all those 9 sources, and simply say generate. Okay, then you can create quiz as well. Okay, you can create quiz. Once again, you can set the difficulty level. Okay, and then simply say generate. I am using by default right now. Okay, then you can create a infographic, okay, which will be based on 10 sources. Okay, so simply click on this infographic. Again, you have various templates here. Okay, you can pick anyone as per your own need. All right, and you can generate a infographic. Okay, and so on and so forth. Right. So let's see what's there. Now, this data table is again there. Let's say most of the time while carrying out research, okay, we need to compare, let's say all these 10 papers in terms of certain parameters. So that sort of activity can be easily created using this data table. So generate a data table from your sources. So it will compare all those 10 sources in terms of certain parameters. Okay. And that stuff would be generated in the form of a table called as data table. Okay. Now this AI mind map is ready for you. Okay. This is what they call it as you can say the mind map, which is helpful in teaching learning. Now this can be shared with your student community by simply clicking on this share button. Okay, you can share it with your students directly. Okay, or you can download it. Okay, you can do lot many things here. Okay, so there are very many things which you can try. Okay, then let me show you what has happened with regard to the quiz. Yes, again, quiz is ready for us. So this is the quiz which it has generated using those 10 sources, 12 questions of MCQ sort along with the answer and a hint. Can go to the next question, can share it directly. Okay, so that is the quiz based on 10 sources once again. Okay, Then this flashcard exercise is again ready for you. India flashcard exercise, which is again, you can share it with your student community. Okay. Then this data table is again ready. Look at the data table, what is there in the data table. Now, these are the various parameters it has identified: study population, AI application category, key findings, culture or ethical consideration, language support, recommendation, and so on. All the 10 sources are compared in terms of these parameters. And the stuff from all those sources is populated here in respective columns, okay, along with the references and so on. So this is data table, okay. Now, let's see, slide deck, it is still generating because this is a little bit more time consuming. And then audio again can be generated. Now, the beauty of this audio, which you can try later on your own, it is truly conversational. Truly conversational, meaning thereby you can stop the audio in between and ask your query. Okay. So what will happen? That audio will be stopped. Okay. The presenter will take into account your question and they will try to reply to your query. Okay. That is really, you can say, a very good feature of this Gemini notebook. Okay. So that is, it is totally conversational and interactive. Okay. Which you can try later on your own. Now this infographic is again ready. Okay. Infographic is ready. See, again, this is based on all those 9 sources. Why it is considering 9, not 10? The reason is pretty simple. That is, it will access only those sources which are available in open access platform. Okay, let's say some IEEE journal paper is there, it will not capture that paper. Okay, because it is not possible for the tool to access that paper. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to download it and then you may upload it. Okay, for creating your own notebook, that is possible, but it will not capture any source wherein you require some sort of login credentials. You require some sort of login credentials. Now look at the graphics. Okay, similarly, if you look at the PPT or the PowerPoint presentation, it will be fantastic, very rich in terms of graphics and so on. Okay, so you can use it, you can adopt this particular tool for teaching and research. Okay, there's nothing wrong in that. Okay, you can very well adapt to this particular tool. Slide deck, it is still generating. Okay, and audio, it is still working on. So it all depends, okay, what kind of a traffic is there, because all these stuff is being generated on the Google Cloud. So many times it takes a little bit more time. Okay, so this is a very basic tool, but at the same time, very rich in terms of resources. And as on date, it is completely free. Okay, as on date, it is completely free. Right. So that is the very first tool. Okay, let us try something on research front. But let's say if you have any specific query with regard to a particular tool, I request all of you to ask there itself. Okay, we can definitely again move to that particular tool, but it will take more time and energy. Okay, so it would be better that if you raise your concern there itself. Okay, so that we can look at those aspects in that particular perspective there itself. Right. So this is all about you can say the Gemini notebook or notebook LM. Okay. Now let us try something on research front. Okay. Let us try something on research front. But your role as far as the creation of notebook is concerned, your role is very crucial in terms of selecting all those sources. Okay. Now I'll show you one particular tool, what they call it as Elicit. Okay. So Elicit is a tool which you can use for analyzing or synthesizing research paper. I hope my entire screen is visible to you, dear participants.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I know I'm going a little fast, but the idea is to expose you to more number of tools. Okay. There is no other reason. Okay. So Elicit, as I said, Elicit one can use for analyzing or synthesizing research paper. Okay. For using Elicit, again, what you need to do is simply go to elicit.com. If you are a first time user, okay, sign up with your Gmail credential. Okay. Right now, I am showing you, this is my free account. Okay. This is my free account, which I am showing you right now. Okay. So what you need to do next is, let's say you want to search papers on in a particular domain. Let's say this is the topic I'm searching right now, AI in IKS. Okay. So if you give AI in IKS, okay, it will find out certain papers, okay, and it will list out all those papers here in the first column. Okay, in the first column. Okay. Now let's say I want to analyze roughly 10 is the unit. Okay, roughly 10 is the unit, but you can add more papers by simply clicking on this load more papers. It will add up few more papers. Okay. So simply say load more papers, again it will load few more papers. Okay. Okay. So it will show you in the very first column, it will show you the title of the paper, DOI, okay, you can say the journal in which that paper has been published, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now let us assume that I want to analyze all these 10, 20 odd papers in terms of some other parameters. Let's say I wish to identify the research gaps. Okay. So how can I do that? Right. So simply go to this edit column. Okay. Simply say add new. And here you are supposed to type that activity or the column you wish to create. Simply say research gaps. Okay. But while creating the research gap, if you wish to pass on some specific instruction, okay, you can give all those instruction in simple English-like statement in this instruction box. Okay. Right now, I'm keeping it blank. Okay. Then what kind of a output structure you want? Whether you want by default, it is any. Okay. If you want specified, yes, no, maybe these are the three, four options available here. Okay. You can pick anyone as per your own need. All right. Right now, I'm taking any as the default. Okay. And simply say add column. So moment I say add column, what has happened? One new column would be created. Okay. Wherein there are how many sources? 20 sources. Okay. Because we have added few more papers. Then what will happen? It will extract the research gap from each and every paper, and it will populate that research gap in this particular column. Okay. Okay. So as you can see here, within no time, what has happened? It has created a new column called as research gaps, wherein one after another, it has analyzed all those papers in terms of this particular parameter, that is research gaps. Okay. Now, this way in the free version, okay, right now I'm using the free one. I can add as many as 4 column. How many column? 4 column. Okay, right now we are done with 2. So 2 more can be added. But let's say if you wish to go beyond 4, it is not possible. It will cry. It will ask you to upgrade. Okay, wherein you are supposed to go for a paid subscription. Okay, so in upgrade, you will find different plans over there. But we are all Indians, we find solutions to every problem. So what you can do, not more than 4 column in a single go. So what you can do once you are done with this research gaps, simply click on this research gap, say delete. Now again, you can add how many? 3 more columns. Okay. So this way you can address it. Okay. You can copy that extract, paste it in some document file, and later on delete it. Okay, later on delete it. Now, apart from that, the tool will suggest you certain columns on its own. These are the suggested columns, like say AI application domain, AI methods and capabilities. Now, let us see any one of them. Okay, let us see AI methods and capabilities. Okay, moment I said AI methods and capabilities, what has happened? This is the title. Now these are the instruction. Okay, this is what I was referring to. That is, you can pass on some specific instruction. As you can go through this, okay, what is there in this particular instruction box? That is, extract the specific AI methods, technology, and computational approaches applied to IKS, including machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision application, generative AI system, reasoning system, and so on. So this is in plain English. Okay. Then any and then simply say update and so on. Right. So the idea behind this demonstrating this particular is this is how you are supposed to write down the instruction. While so what it will do while crafting the answers, that is while creating that column, it will follow all these instruction as a whole. one after another, right? So this is how illicit basically works. So illicit can be used for identifying the literature, then identifying or analyzing or synthesizing research papers, okay, and finding out research gaps, methodology, limitation, and whatnot, right? So this is a very powerful tool for analyzing or synthesizing research paper. All right. Now let us move to one important aspect. Okay, what they call it as I have promised you that I'll show you something on the agentic front. Okay, so let us try to create an AI agent. Okay, let us try to create an AI agent. Okay, so Zapier is a platform. Okay, simply go to this Zapier. Okay, if you are a first time user, again it will ask you to sign up with your Gmail credential or any social media account. Like you may continue with Google or Facebook or Microsoft and so on. Okay, let us continue with this Google. Okay, in my case. Okay, any of the account you may use. Use my personal one. Okay, yeah. All right. Now my objective is to, now if you recall, okay, somewhere we have talked about context engineering. Okay, context engineering, wherein you can create workflow automation. Okay, wherein you can create workflow automation for a specified activity. Okay, let's say I want to create a workflow automation for auto replying to my email. Okay, I'm running a Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center. Okay, whatever mails I am receiving from the participant asking about various activities, okay, scheduled or planned in my center. Okay, so all those email, okay, I want to automatically respond. Okay, for this purpose, you can create a AI agent. Okay, you can create a workflow automation or AI agent, in other words. Okay, by using context engineering. So let us see how to create an AI agent. Okay, so simply go to this. This is my account right now. Okay, right now I'm using the free version. Okay, so simply go to this new agent. Okay, and don't go to the editor, rather continue. Okay, simply say continue. So moment you say continue, you will find something like this on the screen. Okay, I hope my entire screen is visible to you. Dear participant, are you with me? First of all, I know the
Yes, sir.
session, yeah, session is quite long. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but don't worry. Okay, you learn something new. Okay, all right. So if you are new to this platform, okay, instead of creating your agent from scratch, what you can do, you can use certain templates. So the tool provides you certain built-in template. Okay, which you may use. But most of these templates are with regard to some business activity. Okay, it is not specifically with regard to the activity which I have narrated just now. Okay, but let us try to create an email agent, support email agent, which will auto reply to the customers. Okay, so this is the template for that. So simply click on this support email agent. What will happen on the right hand side? The you can say something, the functionality, entire functionality, which is responsible for triggering this agent will be jot down here. Okay. So as you can see here, okay, when I get a new mail, okay, look at the content and determine if it is a question from a customer. If it is customer's question, because this is a support email agent for responding to customer's question. So if it is a customer question, look up at the answer, use the find data to add the data source. So what I can do, I can provide, let's say I'm running a Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, I can add my knowledge source by providing the academic calendar wherein I have planned all the activities, okay, for this entire year 26-27. I can add that particular PDF file as an you can say data source, okay, or a knowledge base. Okay, then I may require some additional tools. All those tools can be added. Okay, so this is what is there in this template. So you can modify this template. Okay, this is the trigger. Trigger meaning thereby this agent will come into action whenever this activity has been, you can say, you put it into action, and this is the trigger based on which it will carry out all these activities automatically. So let's say I'm satisfied with the contents. Okay, it is again, as you can very well observe, there is no technical jargons, there is no technical knowledge which is needed. There is no programming skill you require. Everything you need to narrate in simple English-like statement. So let's say you are satisfied with this template. What you can do is simply say use this template. Okay. Moment you say use this template, what next it will do? It will ask you to grant permission to access your Gmail account. Now, in my case, what has happened? I have already given permission to access my Gmail account. That's why this Gmail account is appearing here. It is not asking me to give permission. Otherwise, let's say if you are doing it for the very first time, it may ask you to add up your Gmail account here and then authenticate the tool to access your inbox. Okay, so you need to simply, just like we have signed up, okay, Zapier using your Gmail credential, on the similar line, simply say continue and give permission. So check all those boxes wherein it will ask you to give permission to access your inbox. Okay, and then this step will appear wherein it will ask you to create. Now simply click on this create. Moment you click on create, okay, you will find something like this on the screen, right? Okay, so what has happened now? Now it is giving me some online help as well. Now, okay, it is saying that is how to use this template. Okay, wherein it will say use the insert tool. So while crafting answers, there is every possibility that I may require some services of some additional tool. So those things can be specified in this insert tool. Second is, for crafting the answers, okay, you need to create a knowledge source. Okay, so that is the second expectation, and then definitely you can go ahead with the testing of that agent. Okay, right now I will close it. Okay, so what has happened? These are the instruction to follow, as you can see here. Now this trigger can be edited by simply clicking on this edit trigger. Okay, right now I'm not touching upon anything. My objective is to simply demonstrate that is how to create an agent. Now this is the entire instructions which the tool has to follow or the agent has to follow. Okay, now this is where I can add any additional tool apart from Zapier. Okay, so if you simply click on this add a tool, you will find again numerous tools over there. Like say you can add Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Sheets, Notion, Google Drive. Okay, and this way there are hundreds of tools available. How many tools? Look at this. Search 9,000 plus apps. Okay, so you can pick any one of them. Even you can add Zoom as a tool, right? So if it is needed, okay, you can add up anything for that purpose. Okay, that all depend what kind of a agent you wish to create. Right now, I am not adding up any tool. Okay, right now I am not adding up any tool. Then similarly, you can add a knowledge source. As you can see here, add a tool, then add knowledge source. Okay. Wherein, let's say I have got my academic calendar, maybe UGC guideline for the execution of training program at Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center. So all those stuff can be uploaded by clicking on this upload file. Okay. So you can create a knowledge source. And again, you have Zoom, Microsoft Excel. Let's say if something is there in the Excel, let's say you are dealing with your sales data, okay, for the past quarter. So you may be having in that case some Excel data wherein all the listed items along with their price and all those things will be there, the quantity and so on. So you can put any damn thing, what I'm trying to emphasize here, right? Or you can put even images or PDF files as the knowledge source. So while crafting the answers, what the tool will do, Zapier will go through that stuff. Okay, let's say in case of Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, okay, it will go through the academic calendar, and if somebody has asked the date of commencement of a particular course, it will look at that column and it will extract the desired data and it will craft the answers accordingly. So this way you can add the knowledge source, right? Now, right now I have not added any knowledge source. Let's see the agent preview. Okay, go to this agent preview. You will find something like this and simply test the agent. Okay, so simply click on this test agent. Okay. Moment you click on test agent, okay, the agent will start functioning. Okay, now it is accessing my Gmail inbox. Okay, and it will carry out all these activities, whatever we have narrated here. All right. Now this is with regard to customer. So it will be a bit difficult for the tool to identify because that is my personal Gmail account which I have given. But it will give you some or the other answer. It will come up with its own analysis. It will go through the entire mailbox, okay, all the emails in my inbox, and then it will come up with the detailed analysis that what it has found over there. Okay. You can very well see here that I have reviewed the email data. Okay, this is the outcome of the, you can say, scanning my mailbox. So it has found one promotional email from Pox online PG program about a conference, not a customer question. There was little confusion. Okay, that's why it has analyzed and come up. So this email is advertising an academic conference with details about enrollment, session topics, and CME points, and so on. Since this is not a customer question, now see, look at the answer. Okay, it is saying to himself that, well, this is not a customer question, okay, requiring a lookup and response. There is no action needed. Okay, the workflow goal to identify customer question and provide answer from data source does not apply here. So status, no action required. This email does not contain a customer question, and so on. Right. So I hope it is clear to you that is how to create an agent, okay, or workflow automation, or in other terms, context engineering. How to apply concept of context engineering, wherein you can build workflow automation quite easily without writing a single line of a code. I hope you are getting me. I have not written any single line of a code. That's why all these tools, they are referred to as zero code or no code tools. Right? So you need not have to write a single, you don't require any programming skills. You don't require any, you can say, the technical skill for creating agents. Okay. So this way you can automate your routine activities and you can increase your efficiency. Right. Let's say you are receiving emails from your students. Okay, you have launched a training program or a course which you are teaching in the you can say in your daily schedule. Okay, so you can automate. You can very well automate. You can very well automate responses to all those emails by creating agents as we have created in this case. Okay. The only thing you require is you need to narrate those things in simple English-like statement, as you can see here. Okay. And you need to provide maybe some support of some additional tools or the knowledge source. Okay. Or the knowledge source. In case of student teacher activity, it may be, you can say, certain PDF file, okay, which it will utilize for crafting the answers. But human intervention is again needed. Okay, many times you need to moderate those answers. Okay, not necessary that it will give you. So what you can do, you can ask it to create a draft, and once you approve the draft, then you can fire it. Okay, or the other way around. Let's say if you are satisfied with the functioning, you may automate it, fully automate it, or you may follow a path which I have told you just now. Right. So this is how you can create, you can say, AI agents using Zapier. Okay. So anything you'd like to ask with regard to this? Okay. Okay. Now let us move forward. Okay, let us move forward. Okay. So let's say if you want to carry out extensive literature survey. Okay, extensive literature survey. So this is a tool, what they call it as Research Rabbit. Okay, researchrabbit.ai. Okay. So again, you need to log in with your Gmail credentials and so on. Okay. Uh, Go to researchrabbit.ai. Okay, app.researchrabbit.ai is the URL. I don't know why it is responding so late. On the similar line, we have another tool, what they call it as connected papers. So again, this connected paper and Research Rabbit are equally good. Okay. So this connected paper again you may use, okay, for identifying the real stuff in your domain. Okay. So let us try. Now this has come up. Okay. Let me put it here. Let's say AI in IKS. Okay. Now the beauty of this connected paper is it will build graph for you. Okay, which will help you a lot in identifying the, you can say, the active researcher working in your domain. Okay, so let's say I said I've given the title along with the build graph. Okay, something like this will come up. Okay, which is very you can say promising in terms of, then you can zoom it out. Okay, now you can click on any of the paper, you will find that paper will appear on the right hand side. Okay, here. Okay, now it is showing me the connectivity. Okay, Iqbal 2025, Iqbal 2023. Now, though you can get familiar with these names, right? So you can really identify who are the big players in your domain. Okay, then you can look at the prior work by simply clicking on this prior work. You can look at the derivative work by simply pressing on this tab, that is derivative works. And there are very many things you can do using this particular. Okay, that is connected papers. So it will help you a lot in identifying real literature in your domain, right? Real stuff in your domain, and it uses at the back end AI. Okay, it uses, now you may say we plain Google search, it is altogether different. Okay, which uses page ranking algorithm and so on. Okay, so this is connected papers. Okay, this is connected papers. Now let me show you a few things on the you can say some other front, like say there are platforms like Google AI Studio. Okay, so simply go to Google AI Studio, again log in with your Gmail credentials. Okay, this is again very rich in terms of resources. Okay, so this is Google AI Studio. Okay, now this is what I was referring to. If you recall, that is, you can now Google provides you, as I have told you, that all these models are all pre-trained model. Okay, so they will not give you something which you ask with regard to some recent event which has happened maybe during last few days. Okay, so as to achieve that, what you can do, you can ground it. Okay, so grounding with Google search will address that sort of a problem. So even though the tool remains maybe Gemini 3.7 Flash, but it will use the latest data. Okay, because you have grounded it with Google search and so on. Okay, so you have a playground. Okay, here. Okay, then there are n number of tools here. Okay, n number of tools which you can try. Okay, there are very many apps available once again. Okay, now let me show you some history. That is, you can create images. Okay, that is again possible. Okay, for that purpose, I have used Nano Banana in this case. Okay, which will create images. Say, for example, for this, a cat playing football with you can say football image. Okay, so it has created a cat playing football. Okay, The model which I have used is the Nano Banana 2. And this is what I was referring to. That is, okay, right now it has been set to 1.0. But this temperature, you can set it as per your own need. Okay, so as I said, 0 to 1, any value you can set by dragging and dropping. Okay. So while generating this image, it will create that image, okay, in terms of these parameters. Then thinking level, you can set to minimal or high. Okay. Then this is the top P, which I was referring to in my deliberation. So this top P, okay, you can set it. Okay. Then output length, add stop, whatever, all those things can be set. Now, these parameters will depend upon the kind of tool you have picked up. Okay, for example, right now I have picked up Nano Banana, so it will be in accordance to that. Okay, some of the tools will be disabled. Okay, certain things will be disabled. Right. So this Google AI Studio has got n number of models, again, n number of models which you can play with. Okay. Now, Google anti-gravity is again one of them. But for using Google anti-gravity, it's not possible to use it in this manner. Okay, you need to download it. Okay, let me show you. That is, simply search Google anti-gravity free download for Windows. Okay, so go to this very first link, download this for Windows if you are using X24. Okay, download it, install it on your machine. Once you have installed it, okay, you can run it and you can build application as I was referring to. That is, this is my anti-gravity. Okay, right now let me load it. Wherein you need to simply pass a prompt. Okay, say for example, as I said, that is, you can create full-fledged application for generation of lesson plan, PowerPoint presentation, some assessment using this Google anti-gravity. Okay, within no time, maybe 5 to 7 minutes are needed, not more than that. But these are bulky and very, you can say, resource hungry applications. Okay. So you have to have minimum Core i7 processor with sufficient amount of hard disk and good amount of RAM. Okay, minimum 8 GB of RAM is needed. Now I am showing you my history. Okay, wherein this is what I have created. Okay, lesson plan and presentation generator. Okay, so if you look at this, okay, since it takes more time, okay, I'm not showing it in live manner. Okay, so create an application for lesson plan generation, PowerPoint presentation, etc. I have given. Okay, and then it will generate and it will ask you to implement, walk through, proceed, and so on. So what has happened? This is the project which I have created using this. Okay, as you can see, this is the faculty suite. Okay, wherein this is the index and the application is, the entire application is ready for you. Okay, this is for slide generator. Okay, quiz, flashcard, question paper. So whatever we have done using, what should I say, Gemini notebook, those kind of application can be built using this anti-gravity. Okay, so that is again very important to note. Then let me share one important aspect with you. See, the biggest problem while interacting with all these tools, if you interact with them in an online manner, is your security. Okay, that is, whatever interaction you will have. Let's say you want to create a question paper for the forthcoming examination. Now, if you are using some ChatGPT or any other tool for that purpose, whatever prompt you type, or maybe Google's any product you are using, whatever prompt you type and whatever response it will generate, it is not at all safe. Okay, you must have heard the controversy which is there in the National Testing Agency, that the paper setters, they have used some Gen AI tools for question generations. Right. So you are not at all safe, what I'm trying to say. Now, how to protect yourself without making any compromises on, what should I say, on the security front, security or privacy front. So there are frameworks available. Okay, there are two frameworks, but I'll show you probably only one because we do not have sufficient time. So Olama is there. Okay, now Olama, even though I'm talking in terms of some other aspects, but Olama is a very powerful framework which you can use for building your own large language model. If you recall, Okay, somewhere we have talked about RAG. So in RAG, what I've told you, that is you can download some pre-trained model, open free and open source model. You can fine tune them with your own personal or organizational data, and then you can create your own large language model. Okay, so I hope this sounds really interesting, but this is it's a matter of hardly 1.5 hour. Okay, the entire 1.5 hour session can build that kind of application. So simply go to this Olama free download. Right now, I'll show you the first aspect, that is the privacy and other things. So if you are interested in this Olama, what you need to do is simply search for Olama free download, go to this link, Olama for Windows, okay, and download for Windows. Moment you click on this download for Windows, okay, one executable file will be downloaded in your download folder. Double click on that, install it on your machine. Again, very resource hungry. Minimum Core i7 10th generation, all right, with 8 GB of RAM minimum, right? If it is 16 GB, good enough, and sufficient amount of hard disk. That is the requirement. Don't try it on slower machine. Okay, again, I am facing a lot of problems in this laptop as well. Okay, my own machine. Many times, okay, as I said, it is resource hungry. So what you need to do is download it, install it, and then the second important aspect is you can populate it with various models. So all those models are listed out here. Go to this models link and you will find all the models. These are all free and open source models. So Olama is a framework, okay, which help you run your own model, or maybe some free and open source model which you have downloaded in a completely offline mode. Okay, that is, you need not be connected. Once you download the framework and you populate it with various model, okay, you need not be connected. If you are connected, once again, you will be using the cloud version of Olama. Okay, so one should not use cloud version. What I'm trying to say is use the version which is downloaded on your desktop along with the model, okay, which you have downloaded. So let me show you the execution of this Olama, okay, and what you can do using Olama. Okay, so go to your, you can say the apps, okay, simply say Olama, okay, and run it. Okay, open that application. Okay. So this is what is Olama. Now it is being loaded. Okay, as you can see here, it is loading the model. Okay, the framework has already been loaded, but it will, as I said, whatever models I have populated, so those models will start appearing here once it is being loaded. Okay, yeah, as you can see that Llama 3.2 is the only model which I have installed here. Okay, due to the storage constraint on my laptop. So I can use this Llama 3.2. Okay, but I can download as many models. These many models are there. Okay, you can download any one of them as per your own need. Okay, now this is the structured LLM which I have created. This I was referring to my own large language model. Okay, so that is again there. So now here onwards, you don't require any internet connection. I hope you are getting me. Okay. So whatever prompts you type, okay, so it will save everything, the generation. Let's say create a MCQ Gen AI test. Okay. So this question along with the answer, now it is in completely in my control. I can copy it, paste it. Now everything it is not on the cloud. Okay. It is on my local machine, my desktop only. Okay. So innovative pedagogy using AI, whatever. So you can carry out any personal or this can be used for research as well. Because in case of research, okay, many times, okay, the tools ask you to upload your paper. So if you do so, definitely it is vulnerable in terms of privacy and security. Okay, so don't do that. Instead, adopt this particular approach. On the similar line, we have another product, what they call it as LM Studio, okay, which is again freely available. Same strategy you need to adopt in that case. Okay, simply Google LM Studio free download. Okay, download the Windows version and download the various models. Okay, free and open source model. Okay, now let me show you what you can do using this Olama. Okay, so first of all, just allow me to close it. many times whenever I load this, okay, most of the time, okay, it gives problem. That is, I don't know what has happened. So right now, whether we are connected, yeah. Let me. Oh no. Anyway, so what you can do on, you can go to this prompt. Yeah, let me quit Olama first of all. Yeah, okay. So simply go to this command prompt. I wanted to show you that is what you can do using Olama. So Olama is not merely intended for whatever I have told you just now. You can build your own large language model using Olama. Again, I am facing problems. Anyway, dear participant, okay, there are few more things which I wanted to share with you, but I don't know whether I will be. Dear participant, yeah. So these are the various commands. As I said, that is, you can use a command called create for creating a model. Okay. Let's say you have created a model, you wish to publish it on the, you can say the Olama portal. Okay, you can do so by submitting the model. Okay, it goes through some scrutiny. Okay, not every model they will publish, right? If it is worth considering, it goes through some scrutiny and then they publish it. But you can push it. Okay, you can download. Pull is for pulling a model from a registry. Okay, you can download it. You can push it, a model to a registry, sign in. As I said, create. Okay, serve, copy a model, RM, remove a model, and so on and so forth. So this is a very powerful framework which you can use for creating your own model, okay, using RAG or any other approach, right? So this is all from my end, dear participant. I hope you have enjoyed the session. There are a few more things, but due to the time constraint, I very well know that this is a Sunday. Okay, I have already okay, this Sunday is little bit difficult, but there were reasons to it. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed the entire session. If you have any specific query, you can fire it now. I'll be happy to answer. Dear participant, I hope you are with me. Okay,
Participant, if they have any questions or the queries, we will take the couple of questions or the queries. Please, anyone.
Karthik sir, there is no any query. And this
Okay.
Sunday, this Sunday, it was very joyful to listen
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you. Thanks for your comment.
Yes. Thank
Anyways,
you very much. We have been
thank you.
placed across so many things, so many apps we have came across.
Okay.
It's very nice of you that you have narrated a session very beautifully.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
So we'll be in touch definitely, and tomorrow will be probably your last day for this entire training program. Okay. Over to you, Ankit. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes. So shall we conclude, sir, if you could permit?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So on behalf of Malvi Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Gadge Baba, Amravati University, all the participants, those who have present here, and Government College of Engineering, Lakhisarai, Bihar, I extend my sincere thanks to you for your precious time and thought-provoking session here. And with the kind consent of Professor Atik, sir, I would like to declare that today's session will be over here. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, participants. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.